I jog back into our house, kneeling down to scratch Buttercup behind his ears. The fence is on. Mum nods, biting her lip and trying hard not to look worried. She picks up the blouse and skirt Katniss wore for her first reaping. Let's get you ready, Prim. I quickly wash up and slip into the clothes that are somewhat loose on my slim body. By the time Mum is done with brushing and braiding my hair and holding my clothes in place with a few well-placed pins, Katniss is still not here. Sighing and checking the time over and over, Mum finally lays out one of her old dresses for Katniss and takes my hand with a forced smile. We'll just have to go ahead, Prim. I nod and quickly pet Buttercup once more before leaving home, clutching my mother's hand as though it would protect me from the capital if she just won't let go. I know that the odds are very much in my favor, but I am still terrified of my first reaping. And even if my name was not in the ball this year, the gut-wrenching fear for Katniss's safety would still be ever present. I need her here with me now, her strong, determined face much more reassuring than the grasp of my mother's hand when she can barely keep from shaking. I'm not mad at her like Katniss, though, because I can understand her better. I'm like her. We're healers, not fighters. Mum sends me off to the other 12-year-olds with a kiss on the cheek and a spasm of the lips that just won't turn into a smile. I intertwine my fingers with those of my best friend aside from Rory, Livia, and check the 16th section for Katniss. I can't find her and turn my gaze to the boys instead. I catch Rory's eyes and he shakes his head with wide eyes, letting me know he doesn't know when Gale and Katniss will turn up either. I swallow hard. They'll be in real trouble if they miss the reaping and someone finds out. What if Katniss is reaped? And she isn't even here? What if Gale is reaped and Rory has to sign up for Tesserae? What if I am reaped and Katniss isn't even there to say goodbye? What if I never see her again? Then Effie Trinket's voice brings me out of my stupor. Happy Hunger Games. And may the odds be ever in your favor. Livia's grasp on my hand tightens as Effie makes her way over to the girls' reaping ball with her signature ladies first. I want to tell her we will both be fine, but unlike me, she has 4 entries, still not as many as most others, but far worse than my own single slip of paper. She is shaking, just like the merchant girl, Estelle, who sometimes eats lunch with us on my other side and, of course, I myself. No matter how many entries you have, you will be terrified. On stage, Effie unfolds the paper. Not Katniss, please, not Katniss. And then she calls a name. And it's not Katniss. Primrose Everdeen. Both Livia and Estelle shriek in horror and clutch onto me, but I know they can't help me now, so I untangle myself from them and walk towards the stage as slowly as I dare, hoping that by some Mercale I will be sent away again. But of course, there is no Mercale and I stand motionless on the stage as Effie, am I imagining things, or is even her smile a little bit less wide? Walks over to the boys' reaping ball to the unhappy mumblings of the crowd. No one wants to see someone my age go into the arena. I'm glad that I am too shocked to cry because I am easy enough prey as it is. I don't need to break down on camera on top of that. Silence falls when Effie Trinket unfolds the piece of paper holding the name of my fellow tribute, and I don't even have time to hope it's not Rory when she already reads the name. Peter Mellock. I'd be sad for him if I weren't so overwhelmed with my own fate. He's nice, like his dad, and will sometimes slip me an extra roll when I trade them my goat cheese. I never told Katniss because she says not to take anyone's charity, but I think it's nice that the Mellocks try to help us, even if it's only in a little way. Peter has made it halfway up the stairs, when a voice cuts through the silence, a voice filled with horror. No. Prim. Katniss has finally arrived and she is running forward, towards me, Gale close behind. Prim. No. I volunteer. I volunteer as tribute. Everyone stares at her, not sure what to do. Then Effie Trinket clears her throat. It's too late. We already picked the male tribute. I'm sorry, but that's the rules. To her credit, she actually does look sorry, but that might be because being the escort for a volunteer might have made things more interesting. Katniss is screaming and fighting against Gale, who had the good sense of restraining her before she tried to drag me off stage. I force myself to turn away from my sister and instead focus on Peter as I shake his hand like Effie tells us to. The room in the Justice building I am taken to must be worth more than our entire house, but I can't really appreciate its beauty. I am about to say goodbye forever to everyone I love. Mum and Katniss are first and they immediately hurry towards me, embracing me from either side. I'm so sorry, Katniss chokes into my hair. The fence was on, we had to find a way over. We should have been quicker. I should have been there. Should have volunteered. I'm so sorry, Prim. I feel tears streaming over my cheeks as I clutch onto both of them. No, Katniss, I'm glad you're not going. Take care of Lady and Buttercup for me, okay? Don't drown him. Please promise you'll take care of him. Katniss pulls away and stares at me intently. Don't talk like you're not coming back. You can do this, Prim. Don't give up. You know all about plants, you can feed yourself. And you can climb. Just get out of everyone's way and you'll be fine, Prim. You know everything about anatomy, Mum chimes in, hugging me so hard I can barely breathe. You know where to hit someone. Prim, it'll be self-defense. I know we live to heal, but if someone tries to hurt you, it's okay to hurt them. Katniss nods, agreeing with Mum for the first time in ages. You can come back to us, Prim. And you will. You just have to try. Promise you'll come home to me. I can't make a promise I can't keep to Katniss, so I just evade it by saying something she can misinterpret as my agreeing. Rory taught me about snares a bit. I think I can get myself some food all right. And then the peacekeepers show up to take them away and we shout I love you to one another over and over, and before they close the door I see my mother putting her arm around Katniss and she doesn't shake it off. Maybe my death will do some good, then. Mr. Melloc is the next person to come to see me. I know he must have just said goodbye to Peter, so without thinking about it, I stand up and embrace him. He smiles a sad smile and hands me a white paper package that I open to find cookies. I thank him and bite into one. It's delicious, Mr. Melloc. He just gives a jerk of his head in reply and we sit in silence for a few minutes before I speak again. Trade Katniss some cheese buns, will you? She never lets herself have anything nice, but she loves those. He seems at a loss of words and before he can recuperate, a peacekeeper tells us time is up. Pete'll keep an eye on you, he says scruffily, and the door closes. I have no idea what to do with that, so I blink at the door in confusion. Livia and Estelle come into the room next. It's an odd sight, the scrawny, bedraggled seam girl and the well-fed, clean merchant girl, the only thing they have in common being my friendship. But status is forgotten as we embrace and cry together and they make me promise to try as hard as I can to come home, and I make them promise to look out for each other. My next two visitors are very unexpected, the mayor's wife and daughter. I know the girl is Katniss's friend, her only one besides Gale, probably, but I don't understand why they would come to see me. I don't think I have ever spoken a word to either of them. But Mrs. Undersea lunges forward, grabbing my hands into hers, a desperate look on her face. Primrose, oh, Prim. I'm so sorry this happened to you. She sees my confusion at the familiar tone, yet doesn't let go of my hands. Your mother and I used to be friends. Back before my sister was reaped. It tore us apart. We couldn't look at each other without seeing her. Her voice breaks and Madge steps forward, removing a beautiful pin from her dress and holding it out to us. We want you to have this. To wear into the arena. Her mother composes herself somewhat, taking the pin from her and fastening it to my blouse with shaking hands. Maysilee made it into the last 5. She wasn't strong, but she was smart and fast. And you can be, too, Primrose. You're smart, a healer, such a sweet girl. You can make it, but you'll need sponsors. I know Haymitch Abernathy seems like a miserable old drunk, but you need to get through to him so he will get you sponsors and you can come back home. She hugs me, and even though I don't know her, something about this whole situation makes me hug her back tightly. Tell him I know he couldn't bring Maysilee home, I know there was no way, but he can bring you home. The peacekeepers interrupt us then and Madge gently pulls her mother away from me, her eyes brimming with tears. Good luck, Prim. They are almost out of the door when Mrs. Undersea turns around again. Tell Haymitch Mackenzie Donna thanks him. Tell him I'm glad that Maysilee had a friend with her when she died. That he didn't leave her alone. The next person to enter the room is Rory, and before the door even closes behind him, We're already wrapped into a tight embrace. He pulls me over to the couch and we sit down, his face completely serious. Okay, Primi, you gotta win this thing, he says, just like everyone else. I know you can. But somehow, I can believe him more. He knows me better than anyone else, I know him like the back of my hand and I know he can't lie to save his life. Yet he seems certain I can do this. So I nod. I know all berries and herbs in our book. I can heal my own injuries, assuming they're not too bad. You can heal everything with the right tools, he tells me. With sponsors, you can get those tools. You're amazing, Prim. Pretty and smart and nice, they'll fall over each other to sponsor you. I can't help but blush a bit. Rory and I are just friends, but I'm pretty sure if it weren't for me going to the games now, we'd probably be something more in a year or two. So him telling me I'm pretty, even if it's in a situation like this, is kind of reassuring. To know I'm not the only one who sees something. But the moment passes as we continue to talk strategy. It's pretty simple, really. Hide out, keep low, eat berries and try to snare some things, find a knife in case I'm attacked, maybe make some allies and play the public for sponsors by being, well, everybody's darling, as Rory puts it. We talk and plan until the peacekeeper comes to take him away. I guess it's because we're both so young, but he doesn't drag Rory away but instead allows him to embrace me once more. See you soon, Primi, he says. You'll do great. And he kisses my cheek and then I'm alone. And I might not see him or anyone else I love ever again. But a tiny part of me thinks that maybe, just maybe, they all might be right and I shouldn't give up just yet. The room in the Justice building I am taken to must be worth more than our entire house, but I can't really appreciate its beauty. I am about to say goodbye forever to everyone I love. Mum and Katniss are first and they immediately hurry towards me, embracing me from either side. I'm so sorry, Katniss chokes into my hair. The fence was on, we had to find a way over. We should have been quicker. I should have been there. Should have volunteered. I'm so sorry, Prim. I feel tears streaming over my cheeks as I clutch onto both of them. No, Katniss, I'm glad you're not going. Take care of Lady and Buttercup for me, okay? Don't drown him. Please promise you'll take care of him. Katniss pulls away and stares at me intently. Don't talk like you're not coming back. You can do this, Prim. Don't give up. You know all about plants, you can feed yourself. And you can climb. Just get out of everyone's way and you'll be fine, Prim. You know everything about anatomy, Mum chimes in, hugging me so hard I can barely breathe. You know where to hit someone. Prim, it'll be self-defense. I know we live to heal, but if someone tries to hurt you, it's okay to hurt them. Katniss nods, agreeing with Mum for the first time in ages. You can come back to us, Prim. And you will. You just have to try. Promise you'll come home to me. I can't make a promise I can't keep to Katniss, so I just evade it by saying something she can misinterpret as my agreeing. Rory taught me about snares a bit. I think I can get myself some food all right. And then the peacekeepers show up to take them away and we shout I love you to one another over and before they close the door I see my mother putting her arm around Katniss and she doesn't shake it off. Maybe my death will do some good, then. Mr. Melloc is the next person to come to see me. I know he must have just said goodbye to Peter, so without thinking about it, I stand up and embrace him. He smiles a sad smile and hands me a white paper package that I open to find cookies. I thank him and bite into one. It's delicious, Mr. Melloc. He just gives a jerk of his head in reply and we sit in silence for a few minutes before I speak again. Trade Katniss some cheese buns, will you? She never lets herself have anything nice, but she loves those. He seems at a loss of words and before he can recuperate, a peacekeeper tells us time is up. Pete'll keep an eye on you, he says scruffily and the door closes. I have no idea what to do with that, so I blink at the door in confusion. Livia and Estelle come into the room next. It's an odd sight, the scrawny, bedraggled seam girl and the well-fed, clean merchant girl, the only thing they have in common being my friendship. But status is forgotten as we embrace and cry together and they make me promise to try as hard as I can to come home and I make them promise to look out for each other. My next two visitors are very unexpected, the mayor's wife and daughter. I know the girl is Katniss's friend, her only one besides Gale, probably, but I don't understand why they would come to see me. I don't think I have ever spoken a word to either of them. But Mrs. Undersea lunges forward, grabbing my hands into hers, a desperate look on her face. Primrose, oh, Prim. I'm so sorry this happened to you. She sees my confusion at the familiar tone, yet doesn't let go of my hands. Your mother and I used to be friends. Back before my sister was raped. It tore us apart. We couldn't look at each other without seeing her. Her voice breaks and Madge steps forward, removing a beautiful pin from her dress and holding it out to us. We want you to have this. To wear into the arena. Her mother composes herself somewhat, taking the pin from her and fastening it to my blouse with shaking hands. Maysalee made it into the last 5. She wasn't strong, but she was smart and fast. And you can be, too, Primrose. You're smart, a healer, such a sweet girl. You can make it, but you'll need sponsors. I know Hamish Abernathy seems like a miserable old drunk, but you need to get through to him so he will get you sponsors and you can come back home. She hugs me, and even though I don't know her, something about this whole situation makes me hug her back tightly. Tell him I know he couldn't bring Maysalee home, I know there was no way, but he can bring you home. The peacekeepers interrupt us then, and Madge gently pulls her mother away from me, her eyes brimming with tears. Good luck, Prim. They are almost out of the door when Mrs. Undersea turns around again. Tell Hamish Mackenzie Donna thanks him. Tell him I'm glad that Maysalee had a friend with her when she died. That he didn't leave her alone. The next person to enter the room is Rory, and before the door even closes behind him, we're already wrapped into a tight embrace. He pulls me over to the couch and we sit down, his face completely serious. Okay, Primmy, you gotta win this thing, he says, just like everyone else. I know you can. But somehow, I can believe him more. He knows me better than anyone else, I know him like the back of my hand, and I know he can't lie to save his life. Yet he seems certain I can do this. So I nod. I know all berries and herbs in our book. I can heal my own injuries, assuming they're not too bad. You can heal everything with the right tools, he tells me. With sponsors, you can get those tools. You're amazing, Prim. Pretty and smart and nice, they'll fall over each other to sponsor you. I can't help but blush a bit. Rory and I are just friends, but I'm pretty sure if it weren't for me going to the games now, we'd probably be something more in a year or two. So him telling me I'm pretty, even if it's in a situation like this, is kind of reassuring. To know I'm not the only one who sees something. But the moment passes as we continue to talk strategy. It's pretty simple, really. Hide out, keep low, eat berries and try to snare some things, find a knife in case I'm attacked, maybe make some allies and play the public for sponsors by being, well, everybody's darling, as Rory puts it. We talk and plan until the peacekeeper comes to take him away. I guess it's because we're both so young, but he doesn't drag Rory away but instead allows him to embrace me once more. See you soon, Primmy, he says. You'll do great. And he kisses my cheek, and then I'm alone. And I might not see him or anyone else I love ever again. But a tiny part of me thinks that maybe, just maybe, they all might be right and I shouldn't give up just yet. The room in the Justice Building I am taken to must be worth more than our entire house, but I can't really appreciate its beauty. I am about to say goodbye forever to everyone I love. Mum and Katniss are first and they immediately hurry towards me, embracing me from either side. I'm so sorry, Katniss chokes into my hair. The fence was on, we had to find a way over. We should have been quicker. I should have been there. Should have volunteered. I'm so sorry, Prim. I feel tears streaming over my cheeks as I clutch onto both of them. No, Katniss, I'm glad you're not going. Take care of Lady and Buttercup for me, okay? Don't drown him. Please promise you'll take care of him. Katniss pulls away and stares at me intently. Don't talk like you're not coming back. You can do this, Prim. Don't give up. You know all about plants, you can feed yourself. And you can climb. Just get out of everyone's way and you'll be fine, Prim. You know everything about anatomy, Mum chimes in, hugging me so hard I can barely breathe. You know where to hit someone. Prim, it'll be self-defense. I know we live to heal, but if someone tries to hurt you, it's okay to hurt them. Katniss nods, agreeing with Mum for the first time in ages. You can come back to us, Prim. And you will. You just have to try. Promise you'll come home to me. I can't make a promise I can't keep to Katniss, so I just evade it by saying something she can misinterpret as my agreeing. Rory taught me about snares a bit. I think I can get myself some food all right. And then the peacekeepers show up to take them away and we shout I love you to one another over and before they close the door I see my mother putting her arm around Katniss and she doesn't shake it off. Maybe my death will do some good, then. Mr. Melloc is the next person to come to see me. I know he must have just said goodbye to Peter, so without thinking about it, I stand up and embrace him. He smiles a sad smile and hands me a white paper package that I open to find cookies. I thank him and bite into one. It's delicious, Mr. Melloc. He just gives a jerk of his head in reply and we sit in silence for a few minutes before I speak again. Trade Katniss some cheese buns, will you? She never lets herself have anything nice, but she loves those. He seems at a loss of words and before he can recuperate, a peacekeeper tells us time is up. Pete'll keep an eye on you, he says scruffily, and the door closes. I have no idea what to do with that, so I blink at the door in confusion. Livia and Estelle come into the room next. It's an odd sight, the scrawny, bedraggled seam girl and the well-fed, clean merchant girl, the only thing they have in common being my friendship. But status is forgotten as we embrace and cry together and they make me promise to try as hard as I can to come home and I make them promise to look out for each other. My next two visitors are very unexpected, the mayor's wife and daughter. I know the girl is Katniss's friend, her only one besides Gale, probably, but I don't understand why they would come to see me. I don't think I have ever spoken a word to either of them. But Mrs. Undersea lunges forward, grabbing my hands into hers, a desperate look on her face. Primrose, oh, Prim. I'm so sorry this happened to you. She sees my confusion at the familiar tone, yet doesn't let go of my hands. Your mother and I used to be friends. Back before my sister was reaped. It tore us apart. We couldn't look at each other without seeing her. Her voice breaks and Madge steps forward, removing a beautiful pin from her dress and holding it out to us. We want you to have this. To wear into the arena. Her mother composes herself somewhat, taking the pin from her and fastening it to my blouse with shaking hands. Maysilee made it into the last 5. She wasn't strong, but she was smart and fast. And you can be, too, Primrose. You're smart, a healer, such a sweet girl. You can make it, but you'll need sponsors. I know Haymitch Abernathy seems like a miserable old drunk, but you need to get through to him so he will get you sponsors and you can come back home. She hugs me and even though I don't know her, something about this whole situation makes me hug her back tightly. Tell him I know he couldn't bring Maysilee home, I know there was no way, but he can bring you home. The peacekeepers interrupt us then and Madge gently pulls her mother away from me, her eyes brimming with tears. Good luck, Prim. They are almost out of the door when Mrs. Undersea turns around again. Tell Haymitch Mackenzie Donna thanks him. Tell him I'm glad that Maysilee had a friend with her when she died. That he didn't leave her alone. The next person to enter the room is Rory and before the door even closes behind him, we're already wrapped into a tight embrace. He pulls me over to the couch and we sit down, his face completely serious. Okay, Primmy, you gotta win this thing, he says, just like everyone else. I know you can. But somehow, I can believe him more. He knows me better than anyone else, I know him like the back of my hand and I know he can't lie to save his life. Yet he seems certain I can do this. So I nod. I know all berries and herbs in our book. I can heal my own injuries, assuming they're not too bad. You can heal everything with the right tools, he tells me. With sponsors, you can get those tools. You're amazing, Prim. Pretty and smart and nice, they'll fall over each other to sponsor you. I can't help but blush a bit. Rory and I are just friends, but I'm pretty sure if it weren't for me going to the games now, we'd probably be something more in a year or two. So him telling me I'm pretty, even if it's in a situation like this, is kind of reassuring. To know I'm not the only one who sees something. But the moment passes as we continue to talk strategy. It's pretty simple, really. Hide out, keep low, eat berries and try to snare some things, find a knife in case I'm attacked, maybe make some allies and play the public for sponsors by being, well, everybody's darling, as Rory puts it. We talk and plan until the peacekeeper comes to take him away. I guess it's because we're both so young, but he doesn't drag Rory away but instead allows him to embrace me once more. See you soon, Primi, he says. You'll do great. And he kisses my cheek and then I'm alone. And I might not see him or anyone else I love ever again. But a tiny part of me thinks that maybe, just maybe, they all might be right and I shouldn't give up just yet. I'm in a car for the first time in my life, but instead of getting excited about that or letting myself think about the games, I use the time to take deep, slow breaths, hoping I won't look too flustered. It's fine that my eyes are a little red, but I don't want to start crying again. It's time to start working on finding me sponsors. Peter and I have to pose for the cameras for a few minutes and I know that the capital citizens will already be deciding whether or not they like me. Time to be endearing. I stand the adorable way Posey always does when she's excited, leaning slightly forward, arms stretched a bit away from my body and the heels of my feet not touching the ground. I smile, I hope, half shy, half excited smile, and flutter my eyelashes. Effie Trinket gives me the tiniest hint of a smile and a nod, so I can't be coming across too badly. As soon as they have enough footage, we are ushered onto the train and it starts moving. It's fast, really fast, and I can barely believe such a speed is even possible. Effie shows me to my chambers and tells me I have an hour to do as I please, then there will be supper. I spend at least 20 minutes just standing under the warm water in the shower. I've never had a shower before and it is an amazing sensation. I find a pretty, knee-length dress in one of the drawers, rebraid my hair and pick up the pin the underseas gave me. It's a bird, a mockingjay, and I can't help but smile at how pretty it is. Mum always tells me that my dad's singing was so beautiful, the mockingjays stopped their old songs every time to learn his. Surely it can only be a good sign that this is my district token. Feeling a little bit better, I fasten the pin to my lapel and then make my way through the corridor. Before I manage to get myself lost, Effie Trinket comes towards me, smiling brightly. Oh, good, you're already coming. I was just about to get you. Punctual and a neat dresser, I think I'm going to like you. I smile because I really don't know what else to do. She's weirdly happy all the time, but she doesn't seem to be a bad person and for a capital citizen, she doesn't look too strange. Plus, she'll probably be more likely to help me with Haymitch if she likes me, so why not try to make friends? Peter's already in the dining room, waiting for us. Where's Haymitch? Effie asks but I don't listen to the answer because they start dishing up supper and I'm busy gaping at the lavish dishes. I eat as much as I can manage, because the Hunger Games are named that for a reason and a little extra padding can certainly not hurt. At least you two have decent manners, says Effie as we're finishing the main course. The pair last year ate everything with their hands like a couple of savages. It completely upset my digestion. I'm upset at that remark, because I knew those children. They were a bit older than me and both from the seam. They probably just were really hungry. I mean, Peter and I are pretty lucky food-wise and even we have never seen anything like this. Peter nods beside me and Effie purses her lips, seemingly not sure how to react. She frowns, then looks almost ashamed. I suppose. We watch the recap of the reapings after dinner. I can't possibly remember all the tributes, but some stick in my mind. There's a girl from District 2, unusually short for a career but with a glint in her eyes that scares me more than the boy's size. A boy with a crippled foot from 10, he'll have even less chance than me at winning this thing. A huge boy from 11. And then the girl, 12 like myself and maybe even smaller. I mark her down as a possible ally. Then it's our district. Now I see what I didn't before. Katniss going limp as a rag doll in Gale's arms as I shake Peter's hand. She looks utterly defeated and lifeless and it breaks my heart. But I remind myself that she was better already when she said her goodbye to me and force myself to believe that it wasn't just for my sake. She's a fighter and she'll be alright, even if I'll die. Your mentor has a lot to learn about presentation, Effie remarks as the camera flits to the semi-conscious Haymitch, threatening to fall off his chair while the mayor shoots him disapproving glances. A lot about televised behavior. He was drunk, Peter replies with a laugh. He's drunk every year. Every day, I add glumly, Mrs. Undersea's words echoing in my head. But we need him to get sponsors. To be able to survive. Effie nods and Peter sombers considerably, looking from me to the escort. You'll help us, Effie, won't you? I'll try, of course, she says, patting his hand. But he doesn't exactly listen to me. We'll all have to work on him. It's an almost nice moment, the three of us deciding to pull together to give us a fighting chance, but Haymitch ruins it by showing up, vomiting all over the floor and falling right into the mess, causing Effie to leave the room in disgust. Peter and I sigh in unison and pull him off the floor. Well, Peter does, really, I'm barely strong enough to hoist Haymitch's arm over my shoulder. We drag him to his room and wash him as best we can, even though Peter offers to do it by himself. But I don't mind helping, I'm rather glad I have something to do. We finish all too quickly, bid each other good night, and then I'm on my way to the empty room with nothing but my fears for company. I lay in the unnaturally soft bed, clutching the covers to my chest and trying to convince my mind to let sleep take me away from my worries for a few hours. But my mind keeps racing. I think of my mum, who must be so scared, of Katniss, who will be just as terrified but try to seem strong, of Rory, who might grow up without me now, of Buttercup, who won't have anyone to love him, of Livia and Estelle, who have so many more reapings ahead, of Mrs. Undersea's sister, my mother's unmentioned town friend, Macy Lee, who died with Haymitch by her side. I wonder, briefly, why Mother never mentioned her, but it's quite obvious, really. We would have wanted to know how she died, and the games are gruesome enough without watching a loved one die. Now my mind races with images of deaths I have seen in arenas of games gone by: decapitation, blood loss, starvation, drowning. I remember some of the dead tributes, but most faces I have forgotten, and my brain replaces them with my friends and family. Shuddering, giving up the idea of sleep altogether, I get out of bed and pace around my room until I can't take it any longer and walk along the train corridors to the dining cart, not even sure what I hope to find there. Effie sits at the dining table in a dressing gown and without her wig. It feels strangely wrong to see her without the capital get-up, as if I invaded a rather private moment, and I try to leave unnoticed when she already looks up. Can't sleep. Her tone is sympathetic and I nod, walking over to her and sitting down. Too many thoughts. Of course, she replies, patting my hand. You have a big day ahead. One can hardly expect you to get any sleep. You must be very excited to see the capital. That is such an utterly ridiculous thing to say that I just gape at her as she blabbers on. It must be ever so fascinating to finally see the fashion for real, not just on television. The colors get rather washed out in transmitting, I'm afraid. And you'll love having your own prep team, I'm sure. She raises her eyebrows just a tiny bit, just for a second, but it's enough to make me think. Is she trying to tell me something? Is this not just capital ignorance? It does feel kind of like she picked up on the strategy Rory and I devised, and she is coaching me to say what the capital citizens like to hear. I open my mouth to ask, but am quickly interrupted. You'll have so much fun in front of the cameras, Effie beams, but the emphasis she puts on cameras is very odd. And then it clicks. The train's bugged. She can't give up her ditzy escort act, and this is the only way she can warn me not to run my mouth. If I said anything against the games or the capital, the game makers would have me dead by day one in the arena. Huh. So Effie Trinket actually wants to help her tributes. Maybe that's why she's been in our district for so long. A capital woman fighting for coal miner kids. It's almost enough to make me giggle. I use the twitching of my mouth to jump into her act. Oh, yes. I gush. I hope I get a great stylist. I don't want to embarrass myself in front of the capital in some ugly get-up. And I'm so excited to meet Caesar Flickerman. A capital supporting tribute always has better chances, everyone knows that, even if no one would ever dare say so. If someone indeed bothers to listen in on us, Effie might just be saving my neck. We enthuse over meaningless things for a while longer, then Effie seems to deem it enough. Well, we'd better get you to sleep, You wouldn't want bags under your eyes tomorrow. How about some warm milk with honey? I agree, even though I never had that before. It sounds great. Come along, Effie says, getting up and offering her hand to me. That we're actually going to the kitchen and not having an attendant serve us strengthens my belief that Effie isn't actually the airhead she so convincingly plays. I lean against the counter as she warms the milk and finally take a proper look at her. Without the wig, the makeup and the colorful dresses, she looks like she could be from town. Her hair, falling onto her shoulders in slight waves, matches the honey she stirs into our cups. I accept one of them with a smile and try the drink. Effie giggles as I let out a delighted sigh at the taste, and I can't help but think how strange the capital truly is, when a pretty woman like her feels the need to hide her face behind a colorful facade. She walks me to my room after I finish my delicious milk and we both hesitate at the door, unsure what to say to each other. She awkwardly, almost shyly, opens her arms to me and I gratefully accept the hug she offers. I'd really need Mum or Katniss to hold me now, and this quick embrace is certainly no substitute, but somehow, hugging Effie Trinket doesn't feel wrong at all. Oh. Sorry if it's Effie overload or if you feel she's out of character. Thing is, we only ever saw her the way Katniss perceived her. You know, trying to kill me. He's a faithfully lying career Katniss. She's kinda one for misjudging people. Winking smiley. I just think there's much more to Effie. Hope you don't mind my Effie. Winking smiley. I can't remember falling asleep, but I must have, because next thing I know Effie's voice reaches my ears. Up, 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 Primrose. It's going to be a big, big, big day. I rub my eyes and slide out of bed, reaching for the dress I wore yesterday, but then hesitate. It's slightly crumpled and we must be arriving at the capital soon. This will be the first time they see me since the reaping, knowing that I'm out of my depraved district and have nice things now. Everybody's darling, I remind myself. Excited for the capital. I go to the cupboard and fish out a new dress. Light blue to match my eyes, swaying around my legs as I walk. I brush my hair and rebraid it. I almost cringe as I look into the mirror. I look pretty, even I can tell that. But dressing up for people who force me into a battle to the death sickens me. But what choice do I have? I take Maisily Donner's pin from last night's dress and fasten it onto this one. It makes me feel a little better, like I'm holding the capital accountable for all the children dead in previous Hunger Games. I walk into the dining cart and am greeted by cold silence. Peter looks incredibly uncomfortable and Effie looks about ready to kill. Judging by Haymitch's chuckles, he must have said something to upset her. I vaguely wonder if she's only still here because she promised she'd help Peter and me out. Haymitch is the first to notice me and waves me over. I drop into a chair and both Effie and Peter smile at me. I'm served food right away and I still can't believe how much there is. Peter points at something in a cup. Try that, it's incredible. It's called hot chocolate. I take a sip. He's right, nothing has ever tasted this good. We eat more or less in silence, if you don't count Effie sking every time Haymitch thins his drink with what must be alcohol. What, Trinket, he finally snaps, taking a defiant jug from his drink. It's Peter that replies, though. You're supposed to coach us, not get drunk. We need an advisor, not an alcoholic. Too bad you got me, then Haymitch replies. But sure, here's some advice. Stay alive. That's very funny, says Peter. Suddenly he lashes out at the glass in Haymitch's hand. It shatters on the floor, sending the blood-red liquid running toward the back of the train. Only not to us. Haymitch seems stunned for a second, then punches Peter in the jaw, sending him flying and making Effie scream. I lunge across the table and snatch the bottle away as Haymitch reaches for it, clutching it to my chest as I glare at him. You've had enough. He blinks at me and then at Peter, who's getting off the floor, Effie offering him ice for his face while simultaneously yelling at Haymitch. No ice, the old Victor says loudly over her ranting. Let it bruise. The audience'll think you mixed it up with another tribute. This shocks Effie into quiet and I and Peter speak at the same time. That's against the rules. Yeah, if you're caught, Haymitch shrugs. That'll make it look even better. We all settle around the table again, but I do not return Haymitch's alcohol. He sighs heavily and waves at a server to get him something else. So, I got fighters this year, huh? He eyes us both, then turns only to Peter. You I can work with. Seem fit. The stylist will make you handsome enough. The little one, well, she's just that. Little. Both Effie and Peter protest on my behalf, but I've already jumped forward, pressing a knife against his back. Big enough to reach here, I snarl, pressing the metal a little harder against him as everyone else falls silent. I'm not sure what I'm doing myself. Rory always says I go crazy when I'm mad. Mom just calls it my Katniss side. One thrust and you're paralyzed. I drop the knife back onto the table and he turns around to stare at me. Suddenly, he bursts into booming laughter. Oh, you've got spunk. Nice. But smarts alone ain't getting you out of this. Got Maysiley pretty damn far, I reply. I know it's mean to bring her up like this. His eyes widen and Effie gasps while Peter seems confused. Haymitch's eyes rest on my mockingjay pin and for a second I want to apologize at the crestfallen look on his face. But this is my life on the line and he doesn't even want to offer me a fighting chance. Mackenzie Donner wants you to know she never blamed you. She was glad you were with Maysiley and she knew you couldn't have brought her home. But she also wants you to know that she thinks you can get me home. If you just try. He nods in a daze and Effie moves to place her hand on his arm while Peter stares at me, still having no idea what is happening. Then, luckily, Haymitch pulls himself together. Right. I'll help you. Both of you. We're almost there, so for now just remember this, do whatever your stylists tell you to. No arguing, no whining. He turns and leaves the room, Effie hovering for a moment before going after him, leaving me and Peter alone. We both rush to the window to see the Capitol. My mouth drops in amazement. It's as grand as it seems on television. People point at our train and Peter's grinning and waving. I smile as well, thinking what he must be thinking. Someone out there might be rich, all of them are potential sponsors. So I beam and wave alongside him and the Capitol citizens push each other aside to see us better. District 12 is finally making an impact. Oh. Didn't take me as long this time, I'm getting better at not neglecting stories, woohoo. Thanks to everyone who voted, Fox Fist's name is now Amber, with an overwhelming majority of 75%. Will still be a while until we meet her, though. My prep team is actually really nice, once you get past the way they look and the fact that they take fashion and stuff like that so seriously. But I figure that's what most Capitol citizens are like, so I go along with it. Plus, Haymitch said not to whine. So I grin at them even though my skin is prickling painfully and I really don't want to be here. Is my stylist any good? I mean, I get that no one wants 12 but we always get stuck with the lousy outfits. Flavius pulls a sympathetic face and pats my arm. Don't you worry, dear. Cinna's brilliant. He'll make you gorgeous. Now that we've got all the hair and filth off you, you can already tell you're pretty, Octavia assures me. Venia nods. Exactly. I think you're ready for Cinna. They leave the room and I feel very awkward just standing there naked in the middle of an empty room. I'm used to other people being naked, but me. That's just really weird. A man steps into the room, giving me a warm, reassuring smile. Hello, Primrose. I am Cinna, your stylist. Hello, I reply, staring at him in surprise. He looks really normal and in the Capitol that is definitely strange. I wonder how he even got to be a stylist. It probably means he's really good or they just have given up on District 12 altogether by now. Just give me a moment, alright, he asks and walks around me, taking in my whole body. It's somehow less uncomfortable than being alone naked in a strange room. The way he looks at me, nods and doesn't say anything is exactly how Mom, and me too, I guess, studies her patients. It makes nakedness not awkward but rather part of figuring something out, fixing it. He's dedicated to his work. It calms me down somehow to know that. Then he smiles. Okay, put on your robe and we'll have a chat. I nod and slip into the garment. You're new, aren't you? First year, he replies, and I raise my eyebrows, which are now a lot thinner than I'm used to. That why you got 12, then? He shakes his head. I asked for this district. Well, that's definitely weird, but I guess it also means he won't put me into something embarrassing. You don't request a special district just to make the tributes look stupid. He leads me into a sitting room where we take seats at a table and he summons a feast with the press of a button. I gulp as I look at the stuff, not even certain what half of it is, my mouth watering instantly. I look up to see a saddened look cross Cinna's face. How despicable we must seem to you. He waves the thought away before I can reply. No matter. So, Primrose, about your costume for the opening ceremonies. My partner, Portia, is the stylist for your fellow tribute, Peter. And our current thought is to dress you in complimentary costumes, says Cinna. As you know, it's customary to reflect the flavor of the district. I nod at this, trying not to look horrified. The District 12 costumes always look terrible. I hope that my age will at least keep me from being half naked. So we get coal miner outfits. Not exactly. You see, Portia and I think that coal miner thing's very overdone. No one will remember you in that. And we both see it as our job to make the District 12 tributes unforgettable, says Cinna. So rather than focus on the coal mining itself, we're going to focus on the coal. I blink at him, no idea where he's going. He can't dress us up as coal, can he? How would that even work? And what do we do with coal? We burn it, says Cinna. You're not afraid of fire, are you, Primrose? I make a weird little sound somewhere between a what and a whimper. Does he actually want to set me on fire? But Cinna just looks at my expression and laughs. A few hours later I'm in a costume that will either help me get sponsors or turn me into a pot roast. So far, it doesn't look like much, but Cinna will set me on fire before our chariot drives out. It's not real flame, of course, just a little synthetic fire Portia and I came up with. You'll be perfectly safe, he says. My face is relatively clear of makeup, just a bit of highlighting here and there. My hair has been brushed out and put into my usual 2 braids. I want the audience to recognize you when you're in the arena, says Cinna dreamily. Primrose, the girl who was on fire. I try to smile, but falter. You're absolutely sure this is safe? Would I hurt you, he says and cups my cheek. I shake my head, confident in the answer even though I barely know the man. No way. So I won't burn, then. No way, he echoes, and that's when Peter, his stylist and prep team show up. He seems as nervous as I am and I give him a smile. Don't worry, Cinna swears it's safe. He manages a grin. So does Portia. But she's not the one wearing this, so I vote she gets no say. I laugh, and together we make our way to the bottom level of the remake center. We wait by our chariot and I look around at the other tributes. The tributes from 1 are breathtakingly beautiful, the ones from 2 look majestic. Like vengeful gods who stepped down from the heavens to slay us puny humans. The thought makes me sick to my stomach and I quickly look elsewhere. I briefly catch the eye of the girl from 11 and we smile at each other. Just then the opening music begins. It's easy to hear, blasted around the Capitol. Massive doors slide open revealing the crowd-lined streets. The ride lasts about 20 minutes and ends up at the city circle, where they will welcome us, play the anthem, and escort us into the training center, which will be our home/prison until the games begin. It seems like no time at all that we're up next. Cinna shows up and sets our capes and headdresses on fire. Just like he promised, it doesn't hurt one bit. Then he gently tucks a hand under my chin. Remember, heads high. Smiles. They're going to love you. Cinna jumps off the chariot and has one last idea. He shouts something up at us, but the music drowns him out. He shouts again and gestures. I frown. Did he say to hold hands? I think so, Peter replies, and we join hands, looking back at Cinna. He gives us a thumbs up and smiles. The crowd's initial alarm at our appearance quickly changes to cheers and shouts of District 12. Every head is turned our way, pulling the focus from the 3 chariots ahead of us. I smile and wave, and then I catch sight of us on a large television screen and am floored by how breathtaking we look. In the deepening twilight, the firelight illuminates our faces. We seem to be leaving a trail of fire off the flowing capes. Cinna was right about the minimal makeup, we both look more attractive but utterly recognizable. With him being from town and me looking so much like Mom, you'd think we were brother and sister. But I also look incredibly tiny next to him. He clearly overshadows me. I tug on his hand and manage to get him to look down at me. I mouth at him up. Luckily he gets it and hoists me up onto his left shoulder as if I weigh nothing at all, which I probably don't when compared to those flour sacks he carries around all day. If the crowd has been going crazy before, it's nothing to what they do now. They practically scream their heads off, going absolutely insane with delight. Primrose. 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 They chant my name alongside Peter's, and I know we must make an impression. They bothered to find our names in the program. I wave from high up on Peter's shoulder, blowing kisses and beaming. Peter catches a rose with his free hand and passes it on to me to free his hand to catch a second. I could not have gotten a better partner in my quest for sponsors. We're driving the crowd wild. Once we come to a halt in the city circle, Peter sets me onto my feet again and I give him a quick hug around the middle on impulse, adrenaline flooding my veins. The crowd screams in utter delight and it takes them a good 10 seconds before they turn their attention to President Snow. District 12 definitely never looked better. The doors of the training center close behind us and the prep teams swarm us, almost incoherent with excitement. Peter and I are both laughing, our nerves finally catching up with us. We probably sound almost hysteric, but we just keep on giggling as our prep teams gush on and on about the splash we made. Then Portia and Cinna arrive, free us from the flaming garments and extinguishing the flames. They hug us and together with Effie we ride the elevator to our new home. Effie is almost beside herself with excitement and tells us how she's been talking up sponsors all day long. And with that entrance. Oh, you'll have more sponsors than you know what to do with. Well, once Haymitch gets his act together. I can't seal sponsor deal, you see. She looks rather disgruntled at this and I can see why. She works really hard in her own odd way, but it's useless unless Haymitch gets on board. She pats my cheek and smiles. But don't you worry, I'll get him to the table at gunpoint if necessary. My quarters here are beyond my wildest imagination. They make the train look like, well, like our house looked compared to the train. I spend most of my time before dinner in the shower, because I still can't get over how amazing those things are. Dinner is actually really nice. It almost feels like I'm among friends. Technically, you could call them that, but there's the little matter of the upcoming games. Even Peter, who's probably the nicest person ever, is a possible threat. Not that I think he'd hurt me, but sponsors might well choose him over me. Anyway, we get through a full meal without Haymitch and Effie getting at each other's throats and our mentor remains relatively sober, so I count it as a success. We watch the replay of the opening ceremonies with plates of cake and it's amazing how great Peter and I look. The second we come into view, even our party sighs in delight. Whose idea was the hand-holding, asks Haymitch. Sinners, says Portia. Just the perfect touch of rebellion, says Haymitch. Very nice. Wait, rebellion. Oh, if that can be viewed as rebellion, my next move was probably not such a good idea after all. Indeed, Haymitch scowls as Peter hoists me onto his shoulder. Now that's just over the top, Cinna. It was my idea, I pipe up. Sorry. But no one could see me properly down there. He turns his frown towards me but Effie interrupts. Well, I thought it was absolutely darling. And a lot of people agree, Haymitch. They favor each other so much, they remind people of Kashmir and Gloss. I'm not exactly sure how Peter and I can remind anyone of those two careers. Seriously, they look like someone made them in a lab, they're that perfect. But I guess it's a compliment and it distracts Haymitch from being mad at me, so I'm fine with it. Oh, come on, Effie. That was obviously way too much. Oh, I don't know, Portia says thoughtfully and Cinna, luckily, nods. I think it was fine, considering Prim's age. They'll get away with it. Haymitch looks around the room but finds that no one agrees with him. All right. Fine. I guess we're golden, then. Off to bed, now, kids. First training session tomorrow. Meet me for breakfast and I'll tell you just how to play it. Peter and I walk to our rooms together and just when we say goodnight, I remember something. Something pretty important. Peter. Your dad said you'd look out for me. What did he mean? Oh, he told you, he replies, suddenly seemingly uncomfortable. Look, I didn't tell him to tell you. It's just I'm not letting you die, okay? Not if I can help it. I don't want you to feel weird about it or anything, I wasn't going to mention it. I look up at him. But why? We hardly know each other. He shrugs and I could swear he was blushing. I just can't let you die. I just can't. Not you. If you died, she never mind. Night, Prim. He hurries away and as I crawl into my bed I can't help thinking that I'm pretty sure I know who he meant by she. After a fitful night's sleep and dreams of all the games I remember, I make my way to breakfast. No one's there yet, so I go ahead and load my plate with everything I want and start eating. It doesn't take long for Peter and Haymitch to join me. We eat in silence for a bit, then Haymitch speaks. Okay. Training. First off, I can coach you separately, if you'd like. Peter and I exchange a look and then both shake our heads. Our mentor nods as if he already expected this. All right. So, what can you two do, then? I know you. He points a spoon at Peter, can lift at least. He pauses and looks at me, 50 pounds like it's nothing. He can lift 50-kilo flour bags I supply. Throw them quite a bit, too. Oh, and he wrestles. He's good, too. How do you know? Peter asks, obviously surprised. I smile and shrug. Katniss mentioned it. This time I'm absolutely sure he blushes, but Haymitch already goes on. Good, so Peter, you practically just need to get a knife and you're in with a fighting chance. And you, girl? Anything besides a general knowledge of anatomy? I wouldn't say it's general, I'm actually pretty good, I reply without looking at him. I hate bragging, but my mentor needs to know what he has to work with. I'm good with medical care, too. And I know some edible plants and a bit about snares. Peter gives me an encouraging smile and Haymitch doesn't look too disappointed. Good, good. Effie's going to take you down to training at 10. I want you both to try out some things you don't know yet, learn something new. Don't show what you can do, save that for the game makers. And I want you two to stick together in public, got that? I'm glad he says that because I really don't want to be by myself around the careers and all the other tributes, but I wouldn't have wanted to follow Peter around like a lost puppy. We're the last tributes to arrive in the training rooms, the others standing in a tense circle. The trainer, Attila, explains how the next few days will work and then we are left to go around the stations on our own. Peter and I go and learn to make fires first. It might seem silly when compared to the giant from 11 who's lifting weights twice as big as me, or the tributes from 2 who have started a dummy killing contest and seem to have an almost inappropriate amount of fun with it, but I can't count how many tributes I saw freeze to death. Once we can make a decent fire with just about anything, we move on to camouflage. Peter is absolutely brilliant with the colors. I do the cakes, he tells me. I smile. You do those? They are so amazing, I love looking at them. He shows me a few handy tricks to blend into your surroundings, and while I get nowhere near as good as him, I do at least get a smile from the woman at the station. The next 3 days pass pretty much in the same fashion, moving from station to station. I try knife throwing on the second day. I know I must look pretty stupid, but I have to try something and it's about the only weapon I can lift. Once the trainer instructed me on how to hold and throw the thing, I give it my best shot. The knife clatters to the floor about 3 feet too short and 2 feet too far to the left from my target. I blush and go to pick up the knife when suddenly I hear a soft laugh behind me. I turn around and my heart sinks. It's the girl from 2, Clove. That was adorable, she says, a smirk on her face. Reminds me of me. When I was 4. Peter's talking to the trainer and seems not to notice the uncomfortable situation I'm in. I don't reply and just pick up my knife, trying hard to ignore the career as I take aim again. But she just steps next to me and throws 3 knives quickly, all nailing the dummy in vital organs. She turns and pats me on the head. Thanks for the laugh, kiddo. If I get you, I'll make it quick. Promise. And with a wink she swaggers off, leaving me unsure of what just happened. Peter is by my side a second later. What was that about? I just shake my head, dumbfounded. After a while, I actually managed to hit the dummy. Not bad, the trainer exclaims. I frown. Not bad. That was a kill. The trainer laughs. No, it wasn't. Prim knows what she's saying. Peter interjects and the trainer rolls his eyes at us. He walks to the dummy and presses a button at the back of its neck. A beeping comes from it and I'm pretty sure it's one of those things the Capitol uses to monitor heartbeats. It is regular and the trainer is about to say something when the heartbeat goes haywire and then flatlines. The trainer seems surprised and Peter grins. See? Prim told you so. On the third day, they call us out of lunch to our private session with the game makers one by one. It's only me, Peter and Rue now, and the other girl stares at the wall, completely ignoring us. Then she suddenly gets up, walks over to me and takes a deep breath, acting as if Peter were part of the furniture. Hey. I'm Rue. Do you wanna be allies? Yes, I reply, glad she had the courage to ask. I didn't manage to approach her even though I really wanted to have her as my ally. I'm Prim. And then she's already called into her session. I can't help but wonder whether she timed it like that on purpose. I'm alone now, Peter and I having wished each other good luck and him having left for his session. I silently count the minutes. The average for the others was about 15 minutes. I don't know much about Game Maker sessions because they never show them on TV, but I have a good guess by now. Usually, you'll be in for around 15 minutes, so you have a fair chance to impress. They might only want to see you for a few minutes if it's already clear that you'll get a great rating. Kato, Clove and Thresh had only about 20 minutes between them. If you're really entertaining, though, they seem to keep you a bit longer. I can't be sure, of course, but the tributes who were gone longest seem like the ones who'd put on an extravagant show, the girl from 1 and both from 4. Finally, I'm called into the gymnasium. I can tell instantly that they are bored with their job by now. Most of them look pretty inebriated at this point. I swallow hard, trying not to get any more nervous. There's nothing I can do but go ahead anyways. I start on the plan I started formulating when I found out about the dummy's function at the knife station. Luckily for me, they are mounted on wheeled contraptions and I can easily drag 6 of them into position right in front of the game makers. I collect supplies from the medical station and carefully put it to one side. Next, I pick 3 knives from the weapon section: large, small, medium. Lastly, I get some paint from the camouflage station and put numbers on 5 of the dummies. Counting down from 5 to 1. I glance at the game makers and see that at least some of them look up now and again. A green-haired woman even smiles at me and I return the smile timidly. Once I am done with my preparations, I turn to the game makers and clear my throat. I even do a little curtsy. Primrose Everdeen. District 12. A few of them look up as I announce myself, but most focus more on their glasses. But the woman with the green curls nudges Seneca Crane and whispers something. He turns away from the man he was talking to, and now that I have the head game maker's attention, the others start focusing on me as well. I give the lady in green another shy, thankful smile and begin. I activate the heart monitoring function on the dummy with the 5 on it and pick up the smallest knife. I deal a series of blows to the dummy, quick enough to show I know exactly what I'm doing, but not too fast for them to register exactly how many times I stabbed. 5. Like the number already announced. The second I pull out my blade the 5th time, the beeping goes from haywire to a flat line. I check to see that the game makers are still looking. Seneca Crane is watching me with a more or less neutral expression, so no one else has turned away. So far so good. Now for part 2 of the plan. I beam at them brightly, twirling the knife a few times in a nonchalant manner that took up almost a whole day of training for me to master. But it looks good, especially at my age. And a good show is half the game, really. That's what I'm trying to do, show them I'm too entertaining to kill off early. Would anyone like to pick a body part? A few of the drunker game makers look nothing but confused, and yet again it is the green-haired woman who comes to my rescue. The torso, darling, she trills in that ridiculous capital accent, and I nod and turn to the dummy with the 4 on it. Torso's easy. The real challenge here is to not kill the dummy before stab number 4. I stab twice, narrowly avoiding vital organs but hitting the right spots to hurt someone enough to keep them from striking back right away. Someone makes a distinct noise of approval and I know they can tell what wounds I mean to inflict. They should. After, they help kill children for a living. I stabbed the dummy a third time, leaving the knife stuck and picking up the medium one, driving it straight in the dummy's heart. Now, the game makers have picked up what I'm doing and happily shout out body parts for dummy number 3. I can't help but grin. If they like me, really like me, that means no mutts coming my way. By the time I reach the dummy with the number 1 painted on it, almost every game maker has put his or her glass down and the roasted pig that arrived during the last dummy is still untouched. I have their undivided attention. Again they shout over each other, each wanting to pick the last part that I should attack. Only one thrust of my knife this time. The leg, if you would. Seneca Crane intones over his fellow game makers and all fall silent. The head game maker has spoken. I smile brightly, picking up the largest knife. Of course, Mr. Crane. I position the knife carefully, thrusting it into the dummy's thigh at a precise angle, twisting once and yanking it back out. I count under my breath and turn back to my audience exactly as the heartbeat flatlines. One game maker, who looks Haymitch at the reaping drunk, actually starts clapping. Maybe being last isn't that bad after. I flick on the heart monitoring device on the last dummy, the unnumbered one, and can practically feel their interest radiating of the game makers. This dummy's different and they can't wait to see how. I have the medium knife in one hand, the large one in the other. Taking a deep breath, I launch myself at the last dummy and slash at it like a maniac, only half aware that I'm mimicking Kato's mannerisms I saw in training. I think I might even growl a little, but I'm too concentrated to care. I drop both knives and roll myself away from the dummy as if it might fight back. Luckily I do actually end up near the small knife like I planned and fling it at the dummy. It doesn't stick quite where I was aiming, but the game makers don't need to know that. The heartbeat is going crazy and that's all that matters. I get up and pick up the medical supplies. Suddenly I forget where I am, who's watching me and that I have a dummy before me, not a person. I apply pressure and bandages, sew up wounds, heal like I would with an actual patient. I don't know how long it takes me to get the heartbeat back to normal, but it can't have been that long. I'm not interrupted, so it wasn't long enough for the game makers to get bored. Once my patient is stable, I turn to face the game makers once more. Most of them have approving looks on their faces. The woman with the green hair looks almost beside herself with excitement. Even Seneca Crane is smiling. Thank you, Miss Everdeen. Knowing that I am dismissed, I also utter my thanks, Kirsty once more and leave the room. I ride the elevator back to our floor, feeling not all too bad about myself. I think I might well snag a 5, which is the rough average of the non-career districts and not too horrid for my age. With our entrance at the opening ceremonies, that could well get me at least some sponsors. I walk into the living area to find Peter and Effie there. Knowing that we'd probably be too nervous to eat before our session and that dinner is still over an hour away, the escort ordered us something she calls a chocolate fondue as a snack. There's a little fountain that has melted chocolate in it and a huge platter filled with dozen delicacies. There's strawberries, slices of pears and apples, a bunch of other fruits I don't know the names of, various cookies and even marshmallows. Those I've had exactly once before in my whole life when Estelle was nice enough to share her birthday treat with me and Livia. I enthusiastically accept one of the tiny forks Peter hands to me and, following Effie's example, spear a strawberry and dunk it into the chocolate. I try my way through everything and it's absolutely amazing. Peter and I keep recommending what to eat next to each other and Effie's smiling at our enthusiasm. It's almost possible to forget about the games for a bit. Haymitch joins us when we're almost done eating, snatching the last chocolate-covered strawberry from Effie even as it's halfway to her mouth. Her mouth falls open in disbelief. Haymitch Abernathy, that was incredibly rude. Don't you know it's rude not to share, he retorts, licking a bit of chocolate of his finger. I'm afraid they might start fighting again, but Effie lets it go with a roll of her eyes and Haymitch turns to us. So, how'd you do? Peter shrugs. I threw some weights around as we said I would. Don't know if it did any good, though, they were pretty out of it. I don't think most of them were paying much attention. The curse of District 12, Haymitch mutters, and Effie looks extremely put off. It's very unfair. Just because you're from 12 doesn't mean they can neglect their job. They have to pay attention to you. She looks shocked at the words as soon as she says them and glances around nervously, once again confirming my thought that we must be bugged. I'm sorry, but that's what I think. Here, Princess Haymitch says before going back to the subject. But other than them being their usual bastard self, you did all right. Again, Peter shrugs, so I speak up. Even if they weren't looking at all, he'll get at least a 6 from the other days. I turn to address him derisively. I mean, come on. The way you handled those spears. Even Kato didn't find anything to laugh at. Peter gives me a thankful smile and Haymitch nods contentedly. And you, girl? I think I did okay, I admit, trying to sound modest but not lying to anyone either. They did actually watch me. There was this woman who got Seneca Crane to look, so they all did. And once I had their attention, I managed not to lose it again. That'll have been Celeste Effie puts in. She quite adores you, Prim, she told me so. Aren't you supposed to not discuss the games with game makers? Our mentor asks with a mock-shocked tone but an approving smile. Effie pulls a face at him. Hush, Haymitch. Everyone who's lucky enough to know a game maker personally does it. And she brought it up first. It would have been rude not to reply. Haymitch laughs at her reply and Peter and I join in. We have every reason to laugh. We have a great team behind us, the capital citizen seems to like us thus far, our odds aren't half as bad as they could be. Our stylist walk into the room to join us for dinner as we're all cracking up. Cinna smiles. So everything went all right, then. Peter and I relate exactly what happened in our sessions during dinner and everyone agrees that we definitely should at least not get low scores. Haymitch even slaps me on the back as he hears exactly what I did. Nice one, kiddo. You shouldn't have to worry about mutts, I bet they loved you. After dinner, we go watch the scores being announced. There's really no surprises until Rue bags a 7. I can't help but smile smugly. That's my ally, you know. Effie gives me a quick smile but everyone's more focused on the screen. Peter's up next. He gets an 8 and I just have time to give him a thumbs up before my face is on screen. I blink at the television a few times before the cheering of our team and Effie's arms around me draw me back to reality. Peter beams at me and I beam back. We both got 8s. We got career scores. I sleep rather well that night, finally not being plagued by nightmares. I awake to Effie knocking on my door, trillering her usual "It's going to be a big day." After a quick shower, I go to have breakfast. For some reason, Haymitch, Effie and Peter are quietly speaking to each other around the table. I briefly wonder what's going on but decide that if I need to know, they'll tell me, so I go pick out what to eat. They are silent by the time I join them at the table and I raise my eyebrows at them but say nothing. It's odd but for now, I'm too hungry to care. Once my stomach is satisfied, I turn to Haymitch. Today's the coaching for the interviews, right? You can go ahead, I'm almost done eating. Yeah, well, there's a change in strategy our mentor tells me. Peter asked to be coached separately. Oh is all I say in reply. I'm not sure how I should feel about that. It kind of makes sense, having Haymitch to yourself puts all attention on your strategy. The brother/sister adorable thing we had going so far can't go on forever and I need to learn to act on my own, anyway. Like I did in the Game Maker session. Peter and I won't be allies in the arena. I'd hinder him in fights, he's too big to climb and hide the way I intend. We haven't talked about it but it's obvious we both agree on that. I'm suddenly very aware of everyone staring at me, Peter looking very guilt-ridden. I shrug and smile to show I don't mind. So, who do I start with? You have 4 hours with Haymitch for content, 4 with me for presentation, Effie replies. You'll be with me first, Primrose. We move to my room and I have an inkling that the next 4 hours will be horribly exhausting. Effie's quite the perfection sit, after all. She puts me in a floor-length gown and shoes with ridiculously high heels. Well, they're not even half as high as Effie's but they have to be at least 3 inches. She smiles apologetically as I have to grab onto her arm to even get up. I can't see Cinna putting you in anything over 2 inches, but I thought we'd better make sure. Once I get the hang of balancing about on these death traps and walk in a way that Effie deems graceful, apparently I moved too stiffly before we move on to sitting. There seems to be more you can do wrong than right here. Posture's horrible, too, because I did not realize that I slumped my shoulders and am now overly conscious of what my shoulders are doing. I'm fine on eye contact and hand gestures though, and apparently a natural in smiling. Nevertheless, Effie lets me recite a bunch of meaningless stuff, starting with a smile, ending with a smile, while smiling, just to make absolutely certain. We still have almost an hour left when Effie decides that I'm ready, smiling brightly. It's because you actually cooperate, Primrose, most tributes don't. You can call me Prim, I blurt out. I like Effie, and being addressed by my given name rather than my nickname just reminds me I'm not home. She beams at me and orders us snacks from the mouthpiece in my room, and then we just sit around eating while I let good posture and crossing your legs at your ankles become second nature. Somehow, I end up telling her about home, about Lady and Buttercup, Katniss and Mum, Livia and Estelle, and about Rory. It's not until I catch her knowing smile that I notice that I keep talking about him and blush beet red. I hastily change the subject, trying to learn a few tricks on how to make capital citizens like and, more importantly, sponsor you. We actually manage to miss lunch and don't notice until Haymitch wrenches open the door. You gonna hand the girl over, or did you decide to keep her, princess? Effie is absolutely flustered at having messed up her own schedule, and I can't help but laugh along with Haymitch a little bit as she starts frantically apologizing to no one in particular and rushes off to go coach Peter. Haymitch and I move to the dining room and sit down. He scrutinizes me for a bit while I simply sit there, smiling back at him politely. Suddenly he lets out a low chuckle. God, I bet Effie's pleased with you. Our tributes usually don't get that. He waves his hand around to indicate my general posture. He's right, I'm sitting exactly the way she told me to. I'm even still wearing my heels, and I've completely forgotten them until now. I just shrug and smile wider. I take all the help I can get. So what's your approach? He asks. Likeable. Can't quite believe you're here. All this is just so amazing. I nod. With a dash of I can win this thing, you just watch me. Building on that 8 in training, he agrees. We should probably also tug some heartstrings, you're perfect for that. That sister of yours who wanted to take your place is bound to come up. But don't you dare cry. Just all that you love her so much and want to go back to her, blah blah. A lot of sponsors are sentimental saps, trust me. The next few hours are spent with Haymitch firing question after question at me while I try to answer in a winning fashion, smile firmly plastered on my face. He corrects me here and there: too sweet, not sweet enough, the capital doesn't want to hear that, be more enthusiastic, be mysterious, be more open. It gives me a headache, but after a while I get the hang of which questions warrant which kind of answer: a cocky smile at the mention of my score, an air of wonderment at the clothes and food, gush at this, be serious about that. I breath a sigh of relief when finally he's out of questions and has a semi-smile on his face. You'll do fine, kiddo. Just do it like you did now. Effie and Peter enter the room for dinner right that second, perfectly punctual. Effie's probably still upset about being late earlier. Everyone's in a pretty good mood during dinner, and I instantly know Peter's sessions must have gone great as well. I sigh contentedly as I sip my hot chocolate. I'm by no means happy to be here, but Katniss is home safe and sound, so what does it really matter? And I'm far from out of the running, I tell myself as I crawl into bed that night. My day starts early with my prep team waking me up. They work on me until late afternoon, turning my skin to glowing satin, stenciling patterns on my arms, painting flame designs on my 20 perfect nails. Then Venia goes to work on my hair, weaving strands of red into a complicated pattern that wraps around my head. They erase my face with a layer of pale makeup and draw my features back out. Huge dark eyes, full red lips, lashes that throw off bits of light when I blink. Finally, they cover my entire body in a powder that makes me shimmer like I'm covered in gold dust. Then Cinna enters with what I assume is my dress, but I can't really see it because it's covered. Close your eyes. I can feel the silken inside as they slip it down over my naked body, then the weight. It must be almost as heavy as me, and I have to hold on to Octavia for balance as I slip into my shoes. Effie was right, they're not very high. Then Cinna tells me to open my eyes and I gasp. The girl in the mirror looks a good 2 years older than I actually am and is breathtaking. Because my dress, oh, my dress is entirely covered in reflective precious gems, red and yellow and white with bits of blue that accent the tips of the flame design. Thank you, I whisper, eyes glued to my reflection. Oh, Sinner, thank you. 12 for me, he says. I hold out my arms and spin in a circle. The prep team screams in admiration. He sends the prep team out and lets me walk about in my dress to get used to the added weight. I smile at him broadly. You made me look old enough to actually win this thing. I say it as a joke, but it's true. No matter my training score, if I'd played the sweet little girl card in the interview tonight, no one would feel much like sponsoring me. I'd look too easy to kill. He softly returns my smile. From what Haymitch said, you'll make yourself look good just fine. I just hope I don't get stage fright, I confess nervously. It's kind of a lot of pressure. Sinner thinks about this for a second. How about you just pretend you're talking to a friend? Who would your best friend be? Rory, I say instantly. But Rory already knows all about me, Sinner. I wouldn't be telling him that stuff. I feel like I'm being awfully whiny and difficult, but Sinner quickly offers a solution. What about me? Could you think of me as a friend? Definitely, I answer without missing a beat, making him smile. I'll be sitting on the main platform with the other stylists. You'll be able to look right at me. When you're asked a question, find me, and answer it as honestly as possible, says Sinner, and then winks. Or as honestly as you and Haymitch discussed. Too soon, it's time to go. The interviews take place on a stage constructed in front of the training center. Once I leave my room, it will be only minutes until I'm in front of the crowd, the cameras, all of Panem. Remember, they already love you, Sinner says gently as he leads me to the elevator to meet everyone else. Just be yourself. Peter looks extremely attractive, and I'm even more glad Sinner didn't go for the little girl routine. No one in their right minds would pick me to sponsor over Peter then. A huge round of compliments is exchanged, and then we have to ride the elevator to the staging area. When the elevator opens, the other tributes are being lined up to take the stage. All 24 of us sit in a big arc throughout the interviews. I'll be last, or second to last, since the girl tribute precedes the boy from each district. I kind of wish I could go sooner and be done with it, but I also like the idea of seeing the audience's reaction to the other tributes. It might give me a last-minute idea on what to say or not to say that Haymitch and I didn't cover. I walk onto the stage, highly concentrated. Don't slouch, don't trip, don't forget to smile, I remind myself. I reach my chair without an incident and even give the audience a cheery wave before sitting down. So far, so good. Caesar Flickerman arrives and the interviews begin. The girl from District 1, Glimmer, is up first, and her angle is obvious to anyone, drop-dead gorgeous and dressed extremely provocatively. I wonder if she's happy with that image, because she seemed to have lots of fun in training. Her mentor probably decided she was too pretty to just show off based on talent. Clove and Kato both go for Ruthless Killer, can't wait to get into the arena. They probably don't even have to act at all. The girl from 5 with the beautiful red hair is sly and elusive, and I can tell she's someone who will make it far in the games. The crippled boy from 10 is very quiet and my heart aches for him. I'd probably cry for him if he'd been in any other games. Rue, who is dressed in a gossamer gown complete with wings, flutters her way to Caesar. A hush falls over the crowd at the sight of this magical wisp of a tribute. Lucky I don't exactly look our age tonight, it wouldn't be half as heart-wrenching twice in a row. When Caesar asks her what her greatest strength in the arena will be, she doesn't hesitate. I'm very hard to catch, she says in a tremulous voice. And if they can't catch me, they can't kill me. So don't count me out. I wouldn't in a million years, says Caesar encouragingly. He always really tries to help out the tributes, and I actually kind of like him for it. Rue's district partner, Thresh, is up next. He is very hostile and sullen, but the audience loves him anyways. No wonder, he's a giant and probably the strongest non-career. And then I'm up. I glance at Sinner and his smile gives me the confidence I need. So, Primrose, the capital must be quite a change from District 12. What's impressed you most since you arrived here, asks Caesar. I smile at him brightly. Apart from the chocolate fondue, you mean? He laughs and a good portion of the audience laughs with him. I flash them a grin as I continue, my eyes finding Cinna. Definitely the clothes. I mean, would you just look at what I'm wearing? As the audience oohs and ahs, I see Cinna make the tiniest circular motion with his finger. But I know what he's saying. Twirl for me. I spin around a few times, my arms raised, letting the dress's flames engulf me. I'm kind of dizzy as I stop. Don't stop. Caesar says, but I couldn't keep my balance if I did. But I'm not about to admit that. Why? Did you run out of questions? I tease instead. The audience bursts out laughing and Caesar chuckles along with them. Of course not, Primrose. So, tell me, that ain't in training. He lets out a low whistle. Very impressive. Want to tell us your secret? Oh, but then it wouldn't be a secret anymore. I shoot back to more laughter. All I can say is, size is no guarantee for power. And, on impulse, I'd just take Clove. She could kill you a dozen different ways without even picking up a weapon. She gives the audience a sly smile and winks at me like she did in training. I hope that means a continuation of her promise to kill me quickly, should it come to that. Once again, Caesar chuckles. That's very true. So we'll just have to wait and see. I nod and my smile becomes more of a smirk. I'll make it worth the wait, promise. That's probably a complete lie, but they don't know that and the audience goes wild. Let's go back then, to the moment they called your name at the reaping, says Caesar. His mood is quieter now. And your sister tried to volunteer. Can you tell us about her? Her name is Katniss, I tell him. I love her more than anything. And when she said goodbye to me, she asked me to win for her. I promised her I would. And let me tell you this, Caesar, I never broke a promise to Katniss before and I'm not starting now. I'm vaguely aware of the icy tone my voice has taken and the hush that falls over the audience at my words. Just then the buzzer goes off and Caesar squeezes my hand. Sorry, we're out of time. Best of luck, Primrose Everdeen, tribute from District 12. The applause continues long after I'm seated. I look to Cinna for reassurance. He gives me a subtle thumbs up. Peter has the audience from the get-go, they're laughing, shouting out. He plays up the baker's son thing, comparing the tributes to the breads from their districts. Then he has a funny anecdote about the perils of the capital showers. Tell me, do I still smell like roses? He asks Caesar, and then there's a whole run where they take turns sniffing each other that brings down the house. Towards the end of his interview, Caesar asks him if he has a girlfriend back home. Peter hesitates, then gives an unconvincing shake of his head. Handsome lad like you. There must be some special girl. Come on, what's her name, says Caesar. Peter sighs. Well, there is this one girl. I've had a crush on her ever since I can remember. But I'm pretty sure she didn't know I was alive until the reaping. Sounds of sympathy from the crowd. Unrequited love they can relate to. She have another fellow, asks Caesar. I don't know, but a lot of boys like her, says Peter. So, here's what you do. You win, you go home. She can't turn you down then, eh, says Caesar encouragingly. I don't think it's going to work out. Winning won't help in my case, says Peter. Why ever not, says Caesar, mystified. Peter blushes beet red and stammers out. Because her sister came here with me. For a moment, the cameras hold on Peter's downcast eyes as what he says sinks in. Then the cameras turn to me. Having no time to think about what reaction they want to see from me, I just let them see what I really feel, confusion, compassion, and slightly satisfied sense of I knew it. I almost smile as I imagine Katniss at home, mouth probably open in surprise and disbelief, not sure she even heard what she just heard, maybe looking to Mum to see if she, too, heard Peter confess his love for her in front of the whole nation. She's probably the only one to never have even suspected that the baker's son has feelings for her. I was never sure, seeing as I don't really know Peter well, but I always guessed by the way he'd look at her. Oh, that is a piece of bad luck, says Caesar, pulling me out of my essay reel, edge of pain in his voice. The crowd is murmuring in agreement, a few have even given agonized cries. It's not good, agrees Peter. Well, I don't think any of us can blame you. It'd be hard not to fall for that young lady, says Caesar, presumably referring to when she tried to take my place at the reaping. It did make for great TV. She didn't know. Peter shakes his head. Not until now. Nor did her lovely sister, I assume. Caesar adds, and again, the camera flits to find me. I mutely shake my head in time with Peter. I never had proof before. They shake hands and Caesar smiles sadly. Well, best of luck to you, Peter Mellock, and I think I speak for all of Panem when I say our hearts go with yours. The roar of the crowd is deafening. Peter has absolutely wiped the rest of us off the map with his declaration of love for my sister. The Capitol just eats up a nice tragedy. When the audience finally settles down, he chokes out a quiet thank you and returns to his seat. I gives his hand a quick, sympathetic squeeze as we stand for the anthem. It was a gesture from the heart, not thinking about what the viewers might think, but of course they show it on the big screen anyways. On the way back to our floor, I somehow end up on an elevator without Peter. Rue's there, however, and the way she looks at me makes me nervous. I step over to her and speak in a whisper, the other tributes too busy avoiding each other's eyes or discussing Peter to eavesdrop. The alliance is still on, right? Her face floods with relief and I realize that she must have thought I would desert her to ally with Peter. Yes, of course. I check that still no one is paying us attention and lower my voice further. How do you wanna meet? Not sure, she replies. We'd have to know the arena for that. Once we're clear of the cornucopia, we probably'll run into each other soon enough. I'm very observant, I'll find you. I nod, glad that she caught my unspoken message. The bloodbath is every tribute for themselves, we can't go around looking for each other while trying not to die. Right. Let's say we try to find a water source and if possible, hide close to that. Any idea for signals? We're at level 9 now and it's only the two of us left. Rue shrugs. Only if there's mockingjays. She whistles a 4-note tune and I only have time to imitate it and agree before we're at her floor. No dying in the bloodbath, she tells me as she gets out, and we both grin at the absurdity of the comment. You either. Peter made it to our floor before me and I walk straight up to him. He gives me a nervous smile, probably thinking I might be mad at him. So, you're not letting me die because of Katniss? No offense, but usually you get girls flowers, not have their little sisters crowned victor of the Hunger Games. He looks at me silently for a few seconds, dumbfounded. This is apparently not the reaction he expected. Then he starts laughing and I join in. Well, primroses are flowers, he says, and we break into a new fit of giggles. I can't help but imagining Peter picking me up and handing me to Katniss, smiling and saying he got her flowers. The elevator opens and Effie, Haymitch and our stylists join us. You're happy with how the interviews went, I take it? Haymitch says harshly. We both stop laughing and turn at the tone of his voice, but then he grins and I know he was just messing with us. Peter's smile returns, too. Pretty happy, yeah. As you should be, Cinna says happily as Portia hugs Peter and Effie embraces me. She's beaming like a little child. Oh, they loved you, they loved you. Both of you, they adore you. District 12 never gets that kind of attention. Maybe they'll bump you up to a better district next year, Haymitch tells her, grin still firmly in place. Effie lets go of me and rolls her eyes at the mentor. Please, like they'd find someone willing to take my place and work with you. There's no venom behind that insult, plus, it's probably true, and our festive mood lasts all trough dinner and the replay of the interviews. Once the replay is over, though, the mood instantly darkens. One more night's sleep is all that stands between us and the arena now. The goodbye with the stylist aren't all too bad. I'll see Cinna again tomorrow, and the same goes for Peter and Portia. Still, saying goodbye to Portia is hard, even though I hardly know her. Effie's eyes are glistening with barely held back tears as she wishes us the best of luck, kissing us each on the cheek and pulling me into a hug like she has no intention of letting go ever again. I wrap my arms around her in turn, enjoying what might well be the last tender moment of my life. She suddenly lets out a shuddering sob and Haymitch clears his throat loudly. The escort immediately lets go of me and rushes to the kitchen as Haymitch skulls. I'm pretty sure he told her not to upset us when we need sleep so desperately. Then our mentor's attention is back on us. Any final words of advice, asks Peter. When the gong sounds, get the hell out of there. You're neither of you up to the bloodbath at the cornucopia. Just clear out, put as much distance as you can between yourselves and the others, and find a source of water, he says. Got it. Then he seems to think better of what he just said and looks at me. You're not much of a target, so let's say you have weak tributes near you and a pack no more than 2 meters away, you can probably grab that. Might also get you a few extra sponsors. I nod, swallowing hard. Weak tributes. 2 meters. Okay. Then Haymitch turns to Peter. No heroic stunts. My fellow tribute nods as well. And after that. Stay alive, he tells us, only he's not laughing this time. It's really all he can tell us. Effie reemerges from the kitchen, a forced smile on her face. There's still tears clinging to those ridiculously long lashes of hers, but she's no longer crying. She hands Peter and me each a mug of warm milk with honey and tells us to go get some sleep. After I have my milk and a pleasantly warm shower, I feel rather drowsy and against all odds, I actually manage to drift off. I'm woken by Cinna very early in the morning. He hands me something to wear and takes me onto the roof. There, a hovercraft suddenly appears and a ladder drops down. I place my hands and feet on the lower rungs and instantly it's as if I'm frozen. Some sort of current glues me to the ladder while I'm lifted safely inside. The current doesn't disappear once I'm inside and a woman in a white coat approaches me carrying a syringe. This is just your tracker, Primrose. The stiller you are, the more efficiently I can place it, she says. It's not like I can move anyways. I grit my teeth at the sharp pain as she rams the needle into my arm and inserts the tracker that will make sure the game makers always know where I am. Wouldn't want to set Mutz on the wrong tribute or anything. As soon as the tracker's in place, the ladder releases me. The woman disappears and Cinna is retrieved from the roof. An Avox boy comes in and directs us to a room where breakfast has been laid out. I eat as much as I can manage, ignoring the panic that threatens to overwhelm me. Once I realize that I can't possibly eat anything else without making myself sick, I start sipping drink after drink. Dehydration is, after my biggest worry. Well, second biggest. Other tributes come first. The ride lasts about half an hour before the windows black out, suggesting that we're nearing the arena. The hovercraft lands and Cinna and I go back to the ladder, only this time it leads down into a tube underground, into the catacombs that lie beneath the arena. We follow instructions to my destination, a chamber for my preparation. I force myself to think of it as the launch room. In the districts, it's referred to as the stockyard. The place animals go before slaughter. That imagery is really not helping my nerves right now. I shower and brush my teeth, fighting the urge to cry every second. If I start now, I won't stop. Cinna braids my hair for me the way I always wear it. I close my eyes and pretend it's Mum doing it for me. I remind myself of everyone back home and why I can't give up. The need to cry is slowly replaced by a desperate determination. I'll go home to Katniss. I'll go home to Rory. I'll go home. I'm still repeating that mantra over and over in my head when the clothes arrive. Cinna has had no say in my outfit, does not even know what will be in the package, but he helps me dress in the undergarments, simple tawny pants, light green blouse, sturdy brown belt, and thin, hooded black jacket that falls to my thighs. The material in the jacket's designed to reflect body heat. Expect some cool nights, he says. Then he pulls out Mace Donna's pin from his pocket. My eyes widen in disbelief. I can't believe I forgot about my token. Effie gave it to the review board, Cinna says, fastening it on my shirt. It barely cleared. Some thought the pin could be used as a weapon, giving you an unfair advantage. But eventually, they let it through. They eliminated a ring from that District 1 girl, though. If you twisted the gemstone, a spike popped out. Poisoned one. She claimed she had no knowledge the ring transformed and there was no way to prove she did. But she lost her token. There, you're all set. Move around. Make sure everything feels comfortable. I flail my arms about, jog on the spot and hop up and down. Yeah, it's fine. Then there's nothing to do but wait for the call, says Cinna. Unless you think you could eat any more. I nibble on a few crackers and drink some more water, sitting as close as I can to Cinna without actually being in his lap. He puts his arm around me. Do you want to talk, prim. I shake my head against his shoulder. I have nothing to say. I want to tell him to make sure Haymitch gets Peter home if I don't make it, but I can't afford to think like that. And I really don't want to think about Peter dying. About my life meaning his death. So I just bury my face against his chest and wait. And this is how we sit until a pleasant female voice announces it's time to prepare for launch. Grabbing one of Cinna's hands, I walk over and stand on the circular metal plate. Remember what Haymitch said. Run, find water. The rest will follow, he says. I nod. He tugs his hand under my chin and lifts my head. Finicadair has been the youngest victor long enough, you hear me? Yes, I whisper. He leans down and kisses me on the forehead. Good luck, girl on fire. And then a glass cylinder is lowering around me, breaking our hand hold, cutting him off from me. He taps his fingers under his chin. Head high. I lift my chin and stand as straight as I can. The cylinder begins to rise. For maybe 15 seconds, I'm in darkness, and then I can feel the metal plate pushing me out of the cylinder, into the open air. For a moment, my eyes are dazzled by the bright sunlight and I'm conscious only of a strong wind with the hopeful smell of pine trees. Then I hear the legendary announcer, Claudius Templar Smith, as his voice booms all around me. Ladies and gentlemen, let the 74th Hunger Games begin. 60 seconds. We're on a flat, open stretch of ground. A plain of hard-packed dirt. Behind the tributes across from me, I can see nothing, indicating either a steep downward slope or even cliff. To my right lies a lake. To my left and back, sparse piney woods. This is where Haymitch would want me to go. This is where I'll be going. 43 seconds. There's a loaf of bread about 2 meters in front of me, another 2 meters behind that lies a pack. Haymitch said 2 meters. 40 seconds. Cloves 4 tributes to my left, but everyone else close to me poses no threat. Surely I'll be gone by the time she has made her claim on her knives. And surely I'm not an intersetting enough target. 35 seconds. I can't see Rue. She must be behind the cornucopia. I wonder if there's mockingjays here. I hope so. 27 seconds. I glance around to the other tributes and check where they're looking. 23 seconds. I swear that pack is closer to me than any other packs to any other tributes. 20 seconds. Could it be? Is this meant for me? 17 seconds. I think of Effie's game maker friend Celeste, who's so fond of me. 15 seconds. Yes. That pack is for me. That pack is for me. 12 seconds. I make my mind up and position myself to run for the pack. 10. 9. 8. 7. 6. No turning back. This is it. 3. 2. 1. The gong sounds and I run in. I scoop up the bread and then the pack, instantly spinning around and running towards the forest. I grab a small roll of wire on the way and a piece of plastic that does God knows what. Haymitch was right. No one pays much attention to a 12-year-old in the bloodbath. The boy from 9 actually barrels right by me without giving me a second look, although I have to jump out of his way to avoid being thrown to the ground. I hear sickening sounds behind me, but I keep running. I slow once I'm a few hundred yards into the woods to stuff the things into my backpack so I don't lose anything. The second I open the pack, I know I must be right, this was for me. The antiseptic gauze is too much of a coincidence and medical supplies are never that far away from the cornucopia. My moment of elation is quickly replaced by terror as I suddenly find myself face to face with the girl Form 5. She flinches back also and I realize immediately she won't attack. The second thing I notice is the bloody gash on her arm. Let me see, I say, and take out a bit of the gauze. She watches me warily but doesn't move away. Only once I'm halfway done wrapping up her injury I notice that I'm the biggest idiot in all of Panem. What the hell must this look like to the Capitol audience? I'm not supposed to heal the enemy. But it's too late now and so I finish what I started. I can only hope the cameras are too focused on the bloodbath. She mutters a quick thank you and presses something into my hand before she bolts. Oh, thank my lucky star. She repaid me for my foolishness with a bit of dried meat and a knife. I grin and twirl the weapon around, acting as though I'm not surprised. Now even if I'm on screen, they'll hopefully think this was my plan. Wasting a bit of gauze for a weapon is smart, unlike what I was actually doing. Knife in hand, I continue my way deeper and deeper into the woods. After about an hour or two, I feel certain that no one is near me. Experimentally, I whistle Rue's 4-note tune. I have to repeat it twice before suddenly, I hear it from the trees. So there are mockingjays here, even though I have yet to see one. I decide to go through my pack before looking for a water source. There's the bread, the plastic sheet and the wire I got at the cornucopia. Then the gauze, dried fruit, wooden matches, sunglasses, some crackers, a sleeping bag and an empty water bottle. And, of course, the knife and beef strips the redhead gave me. All in all a pretty brilliant haul. I carefully repack my bag and then survey my surroundings. The ground slopes in one direction, so I decide to go there. What'll be downhill. I alternate between jogging and walking, every now and then whistling our signal. My mouth is uncomfortably dry by the time the cannons let me know that the bloodbath has ended. I stop and count the shots. 9 in total. It's late afternoon by now and I saw no sign of water. All I can do is keep marching on. After about another hour, I hear the most welcome sound I've heard in my entire life. 4 soft notes that I did not whistle. I move faster, re-energized by the prospect of finding Rue. Her head suddenly pops out of a tree. Up here, Prim. I'll come to you, I tell her and immediately proceed to do so. Once I'm up as high as she is, I sit on a thick branch, positioned so we can look at each other. Please tell me you found water. Rue shakes her head sadly before lightening up a bit. She pulls out a handful of berries. These help. I accept them and eye them carefully. You sure they're okay? I don't know these. We have them at home, she tells me, popping a berry into her mouth to demonstrate that she knows what she's doing. I smile and follow suit. They really are extremely juicy. It's nothing like a proper drink, of course, but my mouth no longer feels like I tried to eat sawdust. Did you get anything at the cornucopia? I ask after I finish my share of the berries. Rue nods. Not a lot. I got a slingshot and a pack. It only has a water skin, extra socks and a bit of food, though. Dried fruit, 2 packs of crackers and a bit of meat. But I gathered some roots and berries on my way, plus a few decent-sized rocks for the slingshot. This further strengthens my belief that my pack was placed there especially for me. It's just too good. I relate all I got to Rue and her eyes grow wide, especially as I mention the glasses. She gets very excited and wants to see them, which I don't really get. I show them to her and she beams. They're not for the sun, they are for the night. It's slowly getting darker anyway, so I put them on and see that she's right. Whoa. It's like they turned the sun on again. Rue chuckles, dividing some of her fruit between us. I tear off 2 equal pieces of the bread and hand one to her. You know, we should distribute what we have on both, it's easier to carry and we'll both have something if we get separated for a while. My ally agrees and so we split everything in equal parts. She insists I hold on to the sleeping bag, the wire and the gauze, so I talk her into packing the glasses and the plastic that she says is for when it rains. It's not perfect, but we don't plan on splitting up anyway. Do you see any animals? I ask and Rue nods. I saw a rabbit and some squirrels earlier. Didn't seem to be much. I climb down the tree again and set some snares with my wire, making sure I'm far enough away from our tree that it won't draw attention to us if someone finds them. While I'm busy, Rue figures out how we can sleep in the tree. By the time I'm back in the tree, she found a branch sturdy and wide enough for us both to sleep side by side. Our packs go into the bottom of the sleeping bag, then we both climb in. Rue takes my belt and attaches it to hers, then securing us both and the sleeping bag to the branch. We're just about settled for the night when the anthem plays. The death recap starts. The first to appear is the girl from District 3. That means that the career tributes from 1 and 2 have all survived. No surprise there. Then the boy from District 5. Both tributes from 6 and 7. The boy from 8. The girl from 9. I guess the boy who almost knocked me over made it. One more dead tribute to go and I hold my breath. Not Peter. Don't be Peter. It's the girl from District 10. He's okay, I mumble, genuinely relieved but also sure the capital will love to know that. Then I turn to Rue with a smile. Night, Rue. Night, Prim, she replies, smiling too. You better not snore. I chuckle and close my eyes. Oh. Newest longest chapter, I think. And the games have begun, dun dun dun. And you're all so sweet. My first week in the new job was great, albeit very tiring, laughing smiley. I think Sunday might be my new update day now. How excited are you over the new CF trailer? I swear I can barely deal with Effie's face though. My precious BBY. My first night in the arena is abruptly cut short by the sound of a cannon. I'm instantly awake, sitting up and peering around. Rue's awake, too, eyes wide with fear. My heart is hammering like it wants to jump out of my chest and I grab the other girl's hand. We sit like that for a few seconds, not making a sound. I don't think it was close to us, Rue finally whispers and I nod, slowly calming down again. At least now we know the careers have started hunting. Did you know he's with them? Rue says. Peter. I stare at her uncomprehendingly for a few seconds before I understand what she is telling me. Peter's with the careers. My ally nods, a concerned look on her face. She obviously thinks I'll react badly. How do you know? I ask, trying to delay the moment where I will have to react one way or another. The cameras are surely on us at Rue's revelation. I watched them, Rue replies. I hid in a tree and watched them set up camp for a bit. I thought maybe I could nick something. He threw Thresh off the boy from 4 in the bloodbath, so they let him stay. But why would he want to? I don't know the answer to that. I want to tell Rue, who looks more and more worried by the second, that Peter would never hurt anyone and is far too gentle to join the career pack for real. But I'd rob him of sponsors with a statement like that, so I smile at her instead. You know what they say. Keep your friends close but your enemies closer. Rue nods at this, accepting the answer. Tough. I suspect she can also tell there's something I can't add. I'm relieved when she changes the subject. What should we have for breakfast? We each only have a tiny bit of bread and a piece of dried meat, knowing that we can't be sure to come across food all the time. Just because Rue was able to gather things yesterday doesn't mean the game makers won't make the food sources disappear sometime. I saw it happen with water before. So what are we going to do next? Rue asks after we finish breakfast and as we're packing up our bags, careful not to leave anything behind. I smile again, much more genuine this time, and echo my mentor's words. Find a source of water. With our next goal agreed on, we climb down the tree and set out for our next day in the arena. We first go and check on the snares I set last night. 2 are empty but the third has a rabbit in it. It might not be a lot, but it does considerably lift our spirits. It proves that we're not useless just because we're only 12. We got ourselves food. That's more than any career ever had to do, with them always relying on the cornucopia supplies. We decide not to cook it just yet, what with the careers on the prowl and lighting a fire then pretty much being the same as yelling "Here we are, please come and kill us." We walk in silence for a while and then fall into comfortable conversation about our homes and families. I learn that Rue's the eldest of 6 siblings, with 3 sisters and 2 brothers, and I tell her about Katniss and how she takes care of us. She teases me relentlessly for blushing at every mention of Rory and I reciprocate by pointing out how very flustered she gets when talking about her friend Volo. We also come across some herbs to treat burns which I pocket and explain to her, as well as a tree that she climbs and gathers a few hands full of leaves. They help against Tracker stings, she tells me. You pull out the stinger, chew the leaves and stick it on the sting. It draws out the poison. Turns out the capital not only left the Tracker nests all over forbidden areas but also in the orchards of District 11. We march along for hours, not seeing a sign of water. At around midday, we decide to take care of the rabbit. Now is as good a time as any to do it. I find that I don't feel as bad about cutting up the already dead rabbit as I felt when Katniss took me hunting. I briefly wonder whether it's because I didn't see the fluffy little thing die or because I'm in the arena and that just makes everything different. Either way, it's skinned and gutted quickly and we only roast it long enough so it is no longer raw. Then we quickly kick dirt over the fire to extinguish it and hurriedly leave it behind, in case someone did spot some smoke. We have a few more of Rue's berries, but it is awfully hot and by now we are getting dizzy with dehydration. My head hurts like crazy and little black spots dance in front of my eyes. Do you think we should go back to the lake? Rue finally asks, her voice raspy because her mouth is so dry. I croak out a reply. I don't think we'd make it. It's too far away. She nods in defeat and we trudge on silently. Suddenly, Rue lets out a small yelp. I spin to face her in alarm, but she's smiling and pointing at something on the ground. Animal tracks. There has to be water somewhere around here. We walk on with a bit more strength but still have found nothing as night falls. We are just about to give up and find a place to sleep. Our chances of dying of dehydration are slightly slimmer than those of getting murdered by some tribute because we stayed on the ground. Then, suddenly, a silver parachute drops to the ground a few feet away from us. We rush towards it and Rue, who reaches it first, picks it up and holds it out to me. It's probably meant for you. I open it to find a small bottle of iodine. It's to treat water. To make it safe to drink. We share a short look and then both come to the same conclusion. We go further into the direction we went to retrieve the parachute. This has to be a message from Haymitch. It just has to. And he's probably working with the mentors from 11. He and Chaff are friends, after a. It just has to be a message. Rue and I walk as swiftly as we can manage for about another 20 minutes and then find a pond. We laugh and hug each other before rushing forward to fill the bottle and the water skin. After adding the iodine, we busy ourselves with washing the sweat and dirt of our hands and faces, but the minutes still go by agonizingly slowly as we wait to be able to drink. We each have half of either container to make it fair, as the water skin is a fair bit smaller than the bottle. We repeat the process, now each having drunk about a liter, before filling the containers once more, retreating a few dozen yards from the lake and finding us a tree to spend the night in. Once again, I set up some snares while Rue picks a branch for us to sleep on. I'm terribly glad I have her, not only because I'd probably end up picking the wrong branch and crashing to my death, but also because she's just generally a great person. I already consider her my friend and quickly have to banish the thought that my life means her death from my mind. We're far from thinking about breaking the alliance. Chances are, one or both of us will be killed before it ever comes to that. When I join Rue in the tree, she has laid out a decent-sized ration of rabbit, bread and fruit for each of us. We talk about our lives back home some more as we eat and I describe the way goat cheese tastes while she tries to make me understand the wonderful smell of an orchard in full bloom. We almost forget where we are until the anthem starts. There's only one face in the sky tonight and we find out that the cannon that woke us announced the death of the girl from District 8. Having finished our meal and no longer feeling like talking, we crawl into the sleeping bag and fall asleep in seconds, exhausted. Rue wakes me up with a soft shake of my shoulder. We ought to get the day started, don't you think? I nod, rubbing the sleep from my eyes and blinking at my surroundings. I guess it is about 5 or 6 in the morning, assuming the game makers haven't messed with the sun too much. What'll we do today? I ask and my ally shrugs. Let's have breakfast first, yeah. I agree and we divide some more food between us. The bread is completely gone now, as is a pack of dried meat as well as a pack of fruit. We need to stock up on supplies, Rue says. I agree wholeheartedly. As I suggest we gather more berries, herbs and roots and set some snares, Rue nods but bites her bottom lip nervously. I raise an eyebrow at her. What's wrong? I think we should go back to the lake, she replies, not meeting my gaze. Spy on the couriers. Maybe manage to steal from them. See what they are up to. Now it's my turn to bite my lip nervously. It's dangerous to go near the couriers, yet risky moves are also a surefire way to get sponsors. We won't let them see us, we'll be safe and sound in a tree. And knowing what they are up to and the prospect of getting more supplies, food, weapons, medicine is extremely tempting. And I'll see Peter, even if he won't know I'm there. Okay, I force out, my voice barely a whisper. I swallow hard and meet Rue's gaze. Louder and more confidently I repeat okay. Relief floods my ally's face and she grasps my hands in hers. You sure, Prim? I'm sure, I tell her even though I'm not. But really, What else can we do? If we just sit around and hide, we'll have mutts coming our way before long for being too boring. So this idea is as good as any, really. We pack up with a lot more care than necessary, both being rather frightened by our own plan and eager to delay actually going for a while longer. Once we're done, we go to refill our water supplies and check on the snares. They've caught 2 weird-looking turkeys that Rue recognizes from her district and calls grooslings. We prepare them so they're ready to eat and then we're off. We use Rue's way of getting around jumping from tree to tree. It's slower than walking at first, but once I get the hang of it, it's actually a lot quicker. And a lot safer, too. No other tributes up here to catch us. We make it to the outskirts of the Careers' camp by late afternoon. Why is the boy from 3 here? I whisper to Rue, but she looks just as confused. He wasn't with them when I last saw them. No idea what use he could be. I wonder why they haven't killed him yet, but quickly am sidetracked from that notion by the sight of Peter. He's sitting away from the Careers, looking anything but happy. The girl from 4 catches his gaze and his entire demeanor changes. I have to grin at how good an actor he is. Once the girl looks away again, his face falls again. I wish I could talk to him, I tell Rue, and she nods in understanding. Then she points over at Glimmer, the girl from 1. What is she doing? I watch as the blonde does a weird little choreography of jumps and twirls into the center of the supply pile, picks up some food, does the same thing backwards and gives her district partner a little bow. He replies with a short round of applause. They laugh and sit together, sharing whatever food she got. Maybe just having some fun, I suggest. Again, Rue shrugs. Yeah, maybe. We don't exactly have time to think about it any further, because Cato and Clove stand up like they share one brain. It's clear that this is one of those rare years where the career pack does not have 1, but 2 leaders. And they are calling for another tribute hunt, it seems. Without being able to see their faces properly, I'm almost certain that Clove is rolling her eyes at the 2 from 1 who are still giggling about something or other. Before long, everyone is on the move and only the boy from 3 remains behind. Rue and I try to figure out why they leave their supplies unguarded, because this flimsy kid could be taken out even by us 2, and why they keep him around, but the anthem starts and we settle into sleep instead. I wake up first, peering to the Careers to see what's going on. It's still really early and I don't want to wake Rue for no reason if she can get another hour of sleep or so. The girls from 1 and 4 and the boy from 3 seem to be on guard. Clove's nonchalantly playing with her knives, throwing the terrified boy disgusted looks whenever he flinches in surprise when she chucks another knife into her target. I think it's the carcass of some animal, probably a mutt, but I can't tell for sure from here. The girl from 4 looks positively bored to death and keeps nodding off. The other Careers and Peter start milling out of their tents and I carefully shake Rue awake. They're on the move. She blinks sleepily a few times but quickly understands. The Careers don't bother to keep their voices down, so we can hear most of their conversation. They are rather disgruntled at not having gotten a kill last night, so they want to split into 2 groups now to cover more ground. They argue back and forth, Cato and Clove stubbornly persisting that they should decide who groups up with whom, while the partners from 1 flat out refuse to be in separate groups. The boy from 4 cheekily suggests that Cato and Clove should each lead a group, as they are the leaders, but Cato gives him a shove for his impudence and pulls his smirking district partner closer to his side. I wonder briefly why any district at all has to split up, but the answer is pretty obvious, really. The boy from 3 is a weakling and the Careers obviously are extremely wary of fully trusting Peter. Having both those threats to their success in one group would just not do. Shut it, you're giving me a headache, the girl from 4 finally announces in bored tones, ending the bickering. Damien and I will split up, okay? Her district partner does not look happy with the idea and neither does the girl herself, but it's clear as day that neither Cato and Clove nor Glimmer and Marvel are willing to split up. And fights that might lead to breaking the allegiance this early in the games are no good for anyone. Damien, annoyed at his district partner, moves to group with the less threatening pair of tributes, the tributes from 1, and so does Peter, forcing the girl from 4 and the boy from 3 to go with Cato and Clove. With a few last-minute orders from the tributes from 2 and copious amounts of rolling their eyes from the other career tributes, they are off. Why on earth would they leave their supplies all alone? I wonder, addressing Rue in a whisper. And out in the open like that. I know, it's really odd, she replies, moving along the branch to get a better look at the Couriers' camp. There must be something going on that we're missing here. I mean, they can't just be stupid enough or arrogant enough to think no one would dare to steal their supplies. Something is definitely going on, I agree. Something weird. And probably really dangerous. Something we should stay away from. Rue nods at this, then grins. So let's check it out after breakfast. You bet we will, I say back, a wide grin spreading on my face as well. The Couriers might have something different up their sleeves this year, but that just means it's something we have a chance to figure out and overcome, unlike the burly guards they usually post around their supplies. We actually have a proper chance at managing to get more supplies. As we agreed, we pack up and start sneaking about after breakfast. We don't go too close to the camp, but close enough that we have to leave the safety of our sanctuary, the trees, and move along the ground instead. Figuring this out might actually give us a fighting chance, we can't let it slip away by being scared. Even though I am, and I know Rue is, too. Our hands are tightly intertwined and she keeps giving my hand little squeezes as if to make sure I'm still actually there. My mouth falls open as, after what seems like an hour of investigating, I finally connect the dots. The ground around the supplies is freshly dug up and so is the ground near the plates. Did they dig up the mines? District 3 Rue breathes in reply, eyes wide in a mix of fear, admiration for the boy's feat and pride at us figuring it out. Before I can say anything else, a chuckle makes us spin around. Well. Look what we have here. 2 Whittle lambs walking right up to be slaughtered. Both Rue and I are frozen in shock for a few valuable seconds, staring up at the boy from 4 in wide-eyed panic. He grins down at us, almost lazily slinging his weapon of his shoulder. I know it's something they use in his district to kill big sea animals, it's called a harpoon, I think, and the sight of it somehow jerks Rue out of her fear-induced stupor. Grabbing my hand tighter, she spins around in an attempt to make a run for it. Oh no, you don't, the courier boy says, his voice teasingly calm, as he snatches me by my other arm and drags me towards him. I yelp in pain, almost certain he dislocated my shoulder. His strength yanks me from Rue's grasp and the other girl spins around, eyes frantic, and makes her way back towards us. No. I scream, struggling against the much bigger tribute. Run, Rue. Get out of here. Instead, she quickly loads her slingshot, hitting the boy from 4 just above his right eye. He curses and swears at her, yet does not release his hold on me. He's distracted long enough, however, for me to reach my knife and dig it into his arm. With a bellow of outrage rather than pain, he lets go of me, hitting me square in the face before I can even attempt to flee or duck. I stumble and lose my footing, hitting the ground rather painfully. Spots dance before my eyes and I can taste my own blood filling my mouth, my ankle hurting bad enough that I think the fall might have broken it. I can vaguely make out the advancing courier through my impaired vision, Rue's frantic screaming reaching my ears. I'm done for, I know I am, and all I can think about is how I hope Katniss is not watching. The thought of my sister gives me the strength to at least struggle to my feet. I want her to know that I tried my best. I can't die at a courier's feet, sniffling like a little child. Get out of here, Rue, I choke out again. The boy from 4 is pissed at me right now, she probably has enough time to get up into a tree and save herself. If I can't win, then she should. I hope she is actually listening to me, but all I can see is the smirk of the boy about to end my life. You really shouldn't have done that, he tells me slyly. I might have made it quick otherwise. I close my eyes, unable to force myself to see the weapon coming towards me. I'm sorry, Mum. I'm sorry, Katniss. I'm sorry, Rory. All of you, I'm so sorry. But the pain never comes, the end never comes. My eyes fly open at the sound of a struggle, weapons clashing and groans of pain. The boy from 4 is distracted from me, now engaged in a fight to the death with someone much more capable of fighting back, Peter. The blonde throws the other boy to the ground and in the second before he gets up and they are back to fighting, Peter and I lock eyes. Go, Prim, go. Run, I'll hold him off. All I can do is listen to him. He'll be the courier's main target now, the least I can do is not get myself killed now and make his effort useless. I hear Rue's voice from up above, shouting a warning or something of the sort. I can't join her in the tree, my shoulder and ankle making climbing impossible. So I struggle along the ground as fast as I can, suddenly hearing voices behind me. "Who did you find? What the hell?" Glimmer's voice is full of confusion and she doesn't even notice me right away, but unfortunately, Marvel does. In a desperate attempt to slow him down, I chuck my knife at him. It hits him in the gut and he groans, reaching for it. "No," his district partner shouts, a real edge of panic in her voice. "Leave it in, Marv. You'll make it worse, we have to get you back to camp." A part of my brain notices the fact that apparently the careers learn more than just mindless killing, but the rest of me is focused on making my escape. I have no weapon now, bright spots clouding my vision, pain shooting through my body with every move. I can't even tell if anyone is following me, I just stumble along as fast as I can. I stop as I hear a cannon behind me, panic filling every fiber of my being. "Peter! Peter!" Before I can so much as reprimand myself for my stupidity, I'm dragged to the ground by forceful hands. I struggle against the arms restraining me, try to sink my teeth into the hand that covers my mouth. I can't see who grabbed me, but I know it can't be good. I'm in the games, someone dragging me into the undergrowth just cannot mean anything positive. I jerk my elbow back and hear a half-suppressed whimper of pain near my ear. A girl, definitely. Not the boy from 4 then. But not Peter either. Despite my hit, their arms do not loosen their hold on me even slightly. I continue to squirm, trying my best to scream against the hand that is half cutting of my airflow. "Hush, you silly girl," the voice hisses in my ear. "They'll hear you, hush." The fearful desperation in the voice makes me stop my fighting. Am I maybe not being attacked? While it's true that my arms are pinned firmly to my sides now, the girl's grip does not actually hurt me, if you don't count the pain from the injury caused by the career, which I can hardly blame her for. "I'll take my hand off your mouth now," my captor mumbles, almost too quietly to hear. "Don't make a sound. They are coming." She does as she promised and I realize she's right. Footsteps are thundering through the forest, coming closer and closer. Can't have gotten far. Kato's voice rings out and I hear Clove say something in reply that I can't quite make out. My heart rate picks up, half with fear at their close proximity, half with hope. They wouldn't be looking for me, would they? Surely this must mean Peter is alive. I let myself be held by the person behind me, their grip now much more resembling an embrace since I stopped fighting. Once the careers are gone, we breathe a simultaneous sigh of relief. "Let's get out of here." 12. I'm carefully hauled to my feet, an arm wrapping around my waist to help support my weight. Finally, I see who pulled me to the floor, thus rescuing me from the careers and not actually attempting to attack me. I blink, not having expected to see her again. 5. It's Amber, the redhead tells me, not even meeting my gaze but rather checking and double-checking that we are not being followed. "Primrose," I reply as we continue walking. Or Prim. Whatever you prefer. She only grunts in acknowledgement, almost lifting me off my feet so she can make us move faster. We carry on like that for a few dozen yards before my brain starts somewhat working again. My ally. "You're not idiots," Amber says tersely. "You must have a signal." I nod, still dazed, and whistle our 4-note tune until it is picked up by nearby mockingjays. Then we lapse back into silence, continuing our trek through the forest. Suddenly, Amber crouches down, pulling me with her. Only once we are on our hands and knees do I see the little makeshift camp she made for herself in a small, damp cave. She lets me crawl in first and offers me her sleeping bag. I sink down onto it in a daze, only now realizing I somehow, miraculously managed to keep my backpack on in all this chaos. "I have a sleeping bag as well." She nods and takes my pack off me, digging through it and pulling out a water bottle. Gently, careful not to hurt me, she lifts my head so I can take a sip and then helps me lean away from the sleeping bag so I can spit out the water, washing the taste of my blood from my mouth. We both hear a little clanking sound and Amber crawls from the cave, returning with a silver parachute. She opens it and pulls out a small bottle of pills. "Painkillers," I mumble, and before I can even ask for one, she pops it into my mouth, holding the bottle for me so I can have another drink of water. She looks at the little container in her hand, shaking her head in wonderment and disbelief. You must have a whole wagon load of sponners. As soon as I swallow the pill, my world becomes very hazy again. The girl from 5 takes my own rolled up sleeping bag and carefully places it under my head as a makeshift pillow. I blink at her in confusion. Why are you doing this? My voice is beginning to slur as I am dangerously close to drifting off. The older girl shrugs and rolls her eyes at my question, subconsciously reaching for the arm I bandaged up for her. Just shut up and sleep, Primrose. I really can't help it and let unconsciousness welcome me into its soothing arms. I awake again, feeling stiff and tired. Blinking groggily a few times, I find 2 faces in my vision. You're awake. Rue cheers, face splitting into a huge smile. I blink a few more times, feeling somewhat disoriented. How? I trail off, finding my voice scratchy and my mouth unbelievably dry. You were out for about 2 hours. It's Amber who answers my unfinished question. She looks more calm than Rue but still pleased. I guess if I had died after she risked her own life to save mine, it would have been a mere annoyance to the redhead. As soon as I finish that thought, I'm already shocked at my own harshness. Sure, she must have had her own reasons to save my life, but me thinking of it so dryly is not a reaction I'd expect from myself. A slight edge of panic creeps into my mind. Are the games already turning me so calloused? Rue pulls me away from that disturbing line of thought. How are you feeling? Bit dizzy, I admit, sitting up slowly, Rue's hand instantly on my uninjured arm to support me. Are you okay? Both of you? Amber simply nods and Rue's eyes shine with unshed tears. I didn't get hurt at all. I just went up a tree when Peter showed up and then I hid and I couldn't find you and I'm so sorry, Prim, I just left you, I'm so sorry. No, you did the right thing, I brush off her apology. Imagine if you'd run into Cato or Clove while looking for me. A collective shudder goes through our little group. Rue's eyes are still glistening but she looks a lot less guilty when Amber changes the subject. Something's wrong with your arm. We didn't know what to do so we just made sure you didn't roll onto it. Rue tells me you're good with medical care. I nod, turning my attention to my arm, my worst fear almost instantly confirmed. My shoulder's dislocated. One of you'll have to set it. Won't that hurt? Asks Rue and I pull a face. The painkiller is still working a bit. But yeah. Just tell me what to do, Amber interrupts. The sooner it's sorted out, the better. I instruct her on what to do, closing my eyes as she moves towards me to reset my shoulder. Just be careful, okay? I don't want any nerves to get damaged. All I get is a concentrated grunt in reply and then suddenly, she has a hold of my arm and before I know it, it's over. Hey, she says gently as I draw in a shuddering breath, tugging her hand under my chin much like Cinna does. You're okay, Prim. It's better already, I tell her and Rue, even managing a little smile. I'll have to try not to use it all too much for a bit, but I will be fine. Now for my ankle. They both watch me silently as I inspect my ankle. This time, I breathe a sigh of relief. It's not broken, just sprained. If one of you could get me a few good sticks to put it in a splint. I'll do it, Rue immediately says, getting up and shooting out of the cave. I turn my attention to Amber. So we're allies now, right? Sure looks that way, she replies, grinning. Want me to fill you in on what happened? The feeling of relief vanishes and my face drains of all color. Peter. Is he okay? She gives me a pitying look. We're not sure. Rue thinks it was Force Cannon from the way the fight was going when she last saw him and there was no other death yet. But we'll have to wait till tonight to be sure. I swallow hard and nod. There's nothing else I can do. Why'd you save me? I ask her instead. She shrugs like she did when I asked a few hours ago. You have loads of sponsors. I figured we could help each other out. While that might be true, I find it hard to believe that's all there is. She could have easily died today. All that just for sponsors. She obviously doesn't want to admit the real reason to the viewers, so I lean against her shoulder, mumbling too quietly for the cameras to pick it up. And what else? I feel her chuckle more than I actually hear it and she replies with her face half hidden against my hair, taking even their ability to read lips from the capital citizens. Maybe I have a little brother at home. Maybe I like to think someone would look out for him if he were here. She lifts her head from mine and talks normally again. Maybe you should keep your nose out of other people's business. She playfully pokes my belly like Katniss does sometimes and I giggle. What's his name? Toby, she tells me quietly, and it's then that Rue returns with a whole wagon load of sticks for me to choose from. After I've taken care of my ankle, we inventory all of our supplies. With the additions from Amber we have 2 sleeping bags, the night vision glasses, a box of matches, the plastic sheet that the other girls used to stop the ceiling from dripping on us while I was out, 3 water bottles and the water skin, Rue's slingshot, the antiseptic gauze, 2 bottles of iodine, the wire, a small pot, 2 knives, a bit of rope and the painkillers I got yesterday. There's a fair bit of food on top of that. Amber has been stealing from the couriers while they were out hunting, having memorized where they put the mines. Rue and I were right about that. We've definitely gained a very valuable ally with the girl from 5. As the game makers must have decided to switch things up and make the temperature plummet by a good 10 degrees, the 3 of us spend the rest of the day huddled together in our sleeping bags, Amber in one, Rue and me in the other. We have some food and talk and talk. At first I'm very aware of them trying hard to keep my mind off Peter, but then I just get lost in the conversation. Only when the anthem finally plays am I pulled back to reality and scramble out of the sleeping bag and to the entrance of the cave, staring up into the sky, willing the picture up there to not show me Peter. I turn back into the cave, tears streaming down my face as I throw my arms around Rue. I laugh and sob at the same time. It's not him, Peter's alive. I don't even realize how sick it is to celebrate a young boy's death, even if he did try to kill me. I awake feeling safe and warm and comfortable, completely forgetting where I am for a few blissful seconds, snuggling closer to the warm body beside me. Only when I open my eyes and find neither Mum's blonde curls nor Katniss's brunette hair but instead strands of red before me do I get hit with reality. I shift slightly against Amber, not wanting to fully wake up quite yet. In turn, Rue snuzzles up closer to me. You awake, Priam? Yeah, I reply in a murmur. Just about. Morning. Sleep well. I can feel her nod against my shoulder. Pretty good. You? I nod as well. Think we should wake Amber or let her sleep some more? Let's wake her, the other girl replies, and so I gently nudge our new ally. She's wide awake instantly, making a grab for her knife before realizing it's us and dropping it again, looking rather sheepish. Oh. Hey. Morning. Allies, remember. I say, trying to diffuse the undeniable tension. Save the stabbing for the others, okay? Amber grins and Rue giggles and we're back to normal. How's your arm? Amber inquires. And ankle? Pretty good, I think. I'll just have to take it slow, I tell her. And really, I don't feel all that bad. I have allies, I have food and water and shelter, I even have sponsors who can afford sending me pain meds. While we have breakfast, we plan for the day. We want to stock up on food more than anything. Well, not more than one certain thing. I want to go look for Peter, I blurt out, not sure how to breach the topic and so just diving right into it. I'm answered with both my allies staring at me blankly, the look on their faces strongly suggesting that I have gone utterly insane. Amber is the one to break the increasingly awkward silence. You want to go look for Peter? Just wander around the arena, trying to find the same guy that the couriers wants to find? I nod, biting my lower lip. I feel really naive and silly, but that doesn't change my desire to look for my district partner. He must be hurt. I can help him. I have to help him. Look, Prim, Rue says gently, placing a hand on my arm. We can't go around looking for him. I'm sorry, but that's as good as suicide. I feel tears stinging at the corners of my eyes, a feeling of helplessness washing over me. I choke down a sob, my voice barely above a whisper as I speak again. He saved my life. Peter saved my life. We're in the Hunger Games and he saved my life. I can't say anything else. I can't put Peter's gentle nature into words nor my gratitude and wonderment at the fact that he was actually willing to die for me. He might still do so, for all I know. The boy from 4 must have injured him severely. Yeah, he did, Amber says, a tinge of annoyance in her voice. Damn right he did. And you want to repay him by treating your life, The biggest gift he could give you, the thing he risked dying for, your life, with carelessness. I can't leave him, I can't. I'm stammering. I know she's right, but I don't want to hear it. Don't want to be sensible, don't want to give up on Peter. I'm actually crying now, and Amber, despite still looking angry, pulls me into her arms, Rue scooting closer and gently brushing her fingers through my hair, whispering that everything will be fine, even though it can't be. Ever. I owe Peter my life, and he'll probably die now, and all he did was buy me time because I'm 12 and in the Hunger Games and crying openly and looking much too weak, and even if it weren't so, I don't know if I even want to win, because that would mean Rue is dead and Peter's gone and Amber's little brother won't have a sister, and I'll watch children die year after year after year, and I can never have kids because they'll take them, too, and they might make me mentor Katniss because wouldn't they? Just love that. I sob into Amber's shoulder, clinging to her as though my life depends on it. I don't know how long my allies just hold me and stroke my hair, but suddenly, I find that anger, that determination inside me again. I'm not giving up. I'm not letting them win. I'll make Katniss proud. The second she realizes I'm done crying, Amber lets go of me. You done blubbering? Sorry about that, I say, forcing a grin onto my face. It's Peter, you know. Don't wanna make my sister watch him die. Yeah, she had a bit of bad luck this year, huh? Rue says, luckily picking up what I'm doing. The Capitol people can relate to a sentimental outburst over doomed romance better, I'm sure. Amber smirks, obviously getting it, too. Her sister and her beau. Poor thing must have a terrible time deciding who to root for. I stick my tongue out at her and she laughs, poking me in the side. So, food hunt. We spend some time restocking our water supplies and gathering more berries and roots, as well as setting up some traps. Once we've gotten enough, we decide it's time to find out how the careers are doing. Rue and I take to the trees, but Amber refuses, saying she's just fine on the ground, probably better. We accept that, as she is the one who stole from the careers without getting caught, whereas we ran into them like complete idiots. The atmosphere in the career camp is so icy, I'm surprised the lake hasn't frozen over. The girl from 4 sits apart from everyone else, as does the boy from 3. If I thought him twitchy and nervous before, it's nothing compared to how panicked he looks now. I can't blame him. I wouldn't want to be around a bunch of agitated careers, either. Glimmer is immersed in taking care of her district partner as we arrive. He is pale and she looks worried, but he's smiling and doesn't look to be dying. On the one hand, I'm glad because that means I didn't kill him, on the other, one less career to worry about would have been nice. They must have generous sponsors as well. As I watch the two, Glimmer so tender, the boy Marvel, I think his name is, trusting her so completely to not hurt him that his eyes flutter closed as she checks on his wound. It's like someone has punched me in the stomach. Even those trained to be nothing but killers, those reviled by the other districts and glorified by the Capitol, are essentially, painfully human. Human, filled with emotion and care. Kids like me and Katniss and Rory and Rue. I have to look away from them, hoping to find solace in the ruthless pair from 2. Hoping to dehumanize the careers once more. I am bitterly disappointed. Kato's angry, as I expected, pacing and snarling and yearning for blood. But even as I see the animal, the monster I like to believe he is, Clove steps up to him, placing a gentle hand on his arm. It's not much, and his stance barely changes, but as she jerks her head to where she was sitting before and turns away, he follows her, plopping down next to her and watching her sharpen her knives, something eerily close to a soft smile on his face. I look over at Rue and see my thoughts reflected in her eyes. They're like us. Even if they seem like ruthless killers, they basically are just kids desperate to go home. Kids who will make friends along the way, no matter that only one can live, no matter how messed up it will leave them. We watch them until Clove gets up, a grin on her face, all her knives sharpened to her satisfaction. Come on, losers, we're going hunting. Glimmer and Marvel stay behind while the others are off, the boy from 3 practically twitching with fear every time someone as much as looks at him. Once the others are out of sight, Glimmer helps Marvel up and guides him to a tent. As soon as they are inside, Amber shoots out from the underbrush, hopping the complicated pattern the careers devised, grabbing some supplies and retreating before Glimmer steps from the tent again. She's in and out in 20 seconds, tops. She signals for us to get back to camp and we do. Once we are there, Rue hugs Amber, grinning a face-splitting grin. You are awesome. We're eating well tonight, the redhead replies, grinning and brandishing a can of stew at us. I also got this. Svedroxel. I take the little bottle from her, beaming. It's a type of antibiotic. Mainly used when you have open wounds or animal bites. Not super strong, but can definitely save your life. Well, look at that, Amber says, smiling and playfully tossing her hair. I am awesome. We hide out for the rest of the day, not wanting to come across the couriers. Apparently everyone else had the same idea, because no cannon sounds today. A gentle voice drifts into my dream. Primi, wake up. Wake up, Primi. I shift, still half asleep and utterly confused as to what is real and what is part of my dream. Rory. This, for some reason, is followed by roaring laughter. I sit up, instantly wide awake, and glare at Rue. She lifts her shoulders apologetically but doesn't even try to stop laughing. Suoi, she says, drawing the word out in a manner that makes her sound anything but. But you wouldn't wake up. Plus, you can't just tell me he calls you that and go so red it looks like you'll exploded and then expect me to not use it. I stick out my tongue at her, which just makes her laugh harder. You too, Amber says dryly, albeit with a wry smile, as she hands us breakfast, are complete and utter idiots. Takes one to know one, I reply, very aware that my cheeks must be glowing red. She just rolls her eyes at me and we all focus on eating, Rue finally getting her laughter under control. More stealing from the couriers today? I ask after a while. Rue shrugs and Amber peers out of the cave, checking for the sun. Don't think they'll be off hunting for quite a bit. We should probably just focus on gathering today. Rue nods and I do, too. We also have the snares to check on. We'll do that first, and then scout around, going further from the cornucopia, Amber says, and that's that settled. I don't know if it's just because she's the eldest or if it's her assertive, no-nonsense attitude, but she's obviously our leader. I don't mind, though. She kind of reminds me of Katniss, so it actually feels good to have a sense of normality, big sister making sure of our survival. I have to push the thought of her highly probable death, as well as Rue's and my own, from my thoughts hastily, something I have to do more and more with each passing day. Instead, I try to focus on the tasks at hand. We go to check on yesterday's snares first. It's a good haul, 2 nicely fattened rabbits and another grusling. We spend a good portion of the morning gathering berries, roots, and a few plants with various medical usages. The day thus far can be described as rather uneventful, when suddenly, a loud thundering catches our attention. It sounds like a storm is breaking loose, but it's still warm, hot, even. We turn around and every non-human occupant of the forest is rushing towards us. My first thought is that it must be mutts, but then I see the wall of fire behind them. Amber lets out a string of curses that I'm sure will be beeped out in transmission for people who watch kids slaughter each other for entertainment. The capital citizens are awfully touchy about foul language. And then we are running, mindlessly chasing after the animals, caught up in the stampede, tripping meaning either getting trampled or burning, hoping with everything I've got that the animals weren't genetically engineered into running into danger but are actually leading the way to safety. Shirt over nose, shirt over nose. I scream to my allies, hoping they can hear me, already feeling the stinging of the smoke in my throat, praying that the thin fabric will save us from smoke poisoning. I'm running as fast as I can, my muscles aching, my ankle flaring up with pain once more, my eyes watering from the smoke, my cheeks surely bleeding where branches have hit them. Amber is a bit in front of me and I follow her, blind to everything else, not daring to check over my shoulder for Rue lest I trip and fall. She might be even ahead of Amber, for all I know. I'm in a world of heat and confusion and pain, and what isn't right in front of me somehow ceases to exist altogether. I just keep running on and on, until I manage to reach Amber, who has stopped running, wheezing and clutching at her chest. Rue, luckily, was indeed ahead of the both of us, now on the floor, convulsing in a violent coughing fit. I join her on the ground, my ankle more or less giving out from under me, and let the painful coughs rack my body, let the retching overtake me and throw up until all I do is cough once more. Amber fumbles for a water bottle and hands it to me before starting to vomit herself, unlike me at least having the strength to turn away from us. I rinse my mouth and drink a few sips before struggling to my knees and reaching out for Rue, holding her hair back as she, too, loses her breakfast. We've got to keep moving, Amber announces, pulling me and Rue to our feet as soon as Rue has had a small amount of water, and we have moved barely 3 steps when a fireball crashes down right where I was kneeling seconds before. And then we're running again, dodging fireballs from all directions, stumbling over roots and rocks as we go. Suddenly, Amber screams in pain, her right arm up in flames. Rue, thinking quickly, pushes her to the ground. Drop and roll, drop and roll. Amber manages to extinguish the flames, cursing worse than I have heard even Gale do, tears of pain streaming down her face. We help her up and continue running as soon as her jacket only smolders rather than properly burns. I wonder if the game makers want us dead. Wonder whether this is happening because I am the girl on fire. Wonder if they'll let us get away if only we are fast enough. Wonder why they drive us on but don't actually kill us. The answer comes as we reach a clearing and suddenly hear voices. Thinking fast, I pull my allies to the ground behind a particularly large boulder. I can only hope the fire left the Koreas in bad enough shape that they won't notice us in this rather bad hiding spot. We just can't help ourselves, peering over the boulder to see what shape the others are in. That was close, Glimmer chokes out, clutching her side, supporting Marvel, whose wound seems to have reopened from the excessive running. The girl from 4 throws up in reply, the boy from 3 is nowhere to be seen. Clove throws the puking girl a disgusted look. Get a grip, Felicia. She looks over her shoulder and suddenly pales. Where's Kato? The others look around, too, but much less agitated. The tributes from one look only mildly concerned. Felicia's face suggests she could not care less if she tried. Probably snuffed it. There was no cannon. Clove all but shouts at her. We have to go look for him. Glimmer exchanges a worried look with Marvel. I've got to help Marv back to camp. He'll bleed out. Clove glares at her and the other girl hastily adds, we'd hold you back anyways. Come on, 4, Clove says, accepting Glimmer's reasoning and turning to find her district partner. 4 snorts. Yeah, right. I'm not going. You go burn to death with your lover boy for all I care. I'm heading back to camp with the Giggle twins. Clove looks like she's about to gut her ally, but then a new, panicked voice is heard over the hissing of flames and falling of branches. Clove. Where are you? Clove. I'm coming, Kato, the short Korea girl shouts back, pulling her shirt over her mouth and nose and with an extremely rude gesture towards the girl from 4 runs back into the flaming woods. My allies and I gape at each other. Did she just did that actually happen? I'm almost 90% sure I'm passed out and hallucinating because I did not just see a Korea running towards a very possible death to save a fellow tribute. I think it did, Rue whispers, looking as though she, too, is certain she is out of it. Amber swears yet again. Never mind that. They are coming right at us. And it's true, the remaining Koreas will pass us on their way to the cornucopia. Exchanging a quick glance, we get up and start running for dear life once more. Marvel's in no running condition, Glimmer surely won't leave him and the other girl hopefully won't go after us alone, so this is our best chance. We can hardly just wait for them to find us crouching on the floor, backed into a corner. Apparently, we really underestimated Felicia's ego. The second she spots us, the Korea girl is on our tails. She has an axe in hand, a second and third on her belt. They are not like the one Johanna Mason had but rather much smaller, kinda like they were meant to be. Oh crap. I jump to one side as the axe comes flying, impaling itself in a tree instead of my skull. I land awkwardly on my ankle and the pain is almost too much to comprehend, but I keep running. I hear Amber screaming something and someone, Rue, I think, grabs my arm and pulls me into a different direction. We sprint as fast as we can and I quickly figure out what Amber was shouting about. We now crisscross through a section of the arena that still has fireballs flying wild in an attempt to shake off the Korea from 4. She doesn't throw another axe, apparently having decided that she needs to get closer to us first. A fireball hits the ground behind us and in front of Felicia, giving us a chance to get further away from her. But she isn't injured as bad as us and far better trained, so she quickly gains on us. Then, luckily, she gets hit by a fireball and has to stop to extinguish her burning jacket. Her screams tell me she won't be following us anytime soon, but there is no cannon, so I figure she managed to put the fire out. Once we are sure we have shaken her off, we just keep running, diverting back to a fireless path. We make it through the danger zone, albeit Rue getting grazed by a fireball on the leg and me losing half a braid and singeing my cheek. Once we are out of the woods figuratively, not literally, we drop to the ground, neither fire nor careers in sight. We are passing around a bottle of water when suddenly, Amber bursts into almost hysterical laughter. Damn it, Prim, those game makers love a good laugh. Burning the goddamn girl on fire. She laughs even harder, almost making herself throw up, and Rue joins in. Taking things quite literally. They wanna burn you, fire girl. You shouldn't laugh, I tell them, even as I dissolve into giggles. We're allies. If I burn, you burn with me. It takes us a while to calm down from our adrenaline high, but when we do, we're yet again hit full force with the pain from our injuries. We start our slow, arduous trek to our camp, Rue and I both unable to walk alone, she due to her burnt leg, me due to my ankle, Amber unable to support us both with her arm, which is as good as useless. She ends up awkwardly slinging her uninjured arm around me, and I in turn support Rue as best I can whilst limping along. When we finally make it to our cave, a parachute drops right in front of the entrance. Picking it up, we go into our cave and unceremoniously collapse onto the ground. Groaning, I pry open the parachute, finding a small container of what I hope is burn ointment. I open it and sniff the contents, immediately frowning. It's just to cool and soothe, it doesn't treat. Think we ran out of sponsors. I think they're just saving our money, Rue replies, eyes closed and lying on the floor. You have those leaves, remember? I blink in confusion a few times, unable to believe I forgot that. While I mix a paste with the ointment our mentors sent and the carefully chopped up leaves, Amber and Rue peel the charred remains of cloth from their arm and leg respectively. Once my mixture is ready, I first take care of Amber's arm, as her wounds are the worst. I wash the wound and slather the ointment on generously before passing it on to Rue and wrapping gauze around Amber's arm. She sighs in relief as the paste takes its effect, closing her eyes and leaning against the wall. Rue's already washed her calf and covered it with the ointment, so I just bandage her up before dapping the ointment onto my own cheek. I give Amber half a painkiller just to be sure she can actually get some sleep, we all need it desperately. After encouraging forward/forcing both my allies to down half a liter of water, I follow suit. Then we all lie down, and although Rue mumbles about surely not being able to sleep after all that excitement, we're all out within minutes. We only awake when the anthem begins. After learning that no one died today, so apparently, Clove found Cato and neither the boy from 1 nor the girl from 4 were that severely injured, we have a quick dinner and fall back into a heavy sleep. We start our day with me checking on everyone's injuries, carefully cleaning them, reapplying the ointment and redressing the wounds. We're not in as bad a shape as I had anticipated. The capital stuff really is far superior to anything we have back home in the districts. Well, it doesn't matter right now, as long as we are okay. I'm not going to focus on the injustice of it all. Our biggest problem is my ankle, as we have nothing to treat it with. But even that could be far worse. I can walk, run even, so I'll just have to soldier on. What's the plan for today? Rue asks as we're having breakfast. This leads to a heated debate. We're probably the only alliance other than the Koreas, so we can't get away with just hiding around like a lone tribute might. But we are in no shape to go hunting like the Koreas, nor would we ever want to, but we can hardly say that out loud. We average to a 5 foot, 80 pound 13-year-old, we can't exactly afford to look squeamish about killing or scared of, well, of anything, really. After much back and forth, we decide to figure out how the Koreas are doing and see what we'll do next from there. With none of us in any shape to climb, let alone jump from tree to tree, we make our way towards the cornucopia on foot, Amber in the lead. Once there, we are disappointed to find the Koreas in much better shape than us, even though it was obvious yesterday that at least the girl from 4 suffered much worse burns than us. The same could be safely assumed about Cato and Clove, as she ran back into the flames. Yet here they are, their usual sneering selves. Well, they seem somewhat more sedated, to be quite honest, and the tributes from 2 have abandoned all pretense and stick together awfully close, Clove practically in Cato's lap as she carefully applies what I assume to be burn ointment to his neck and shoulders. Marvel moves around only slowly, heavily favoring his left leg. But other than that, they seem far too healthy for my liking. I had kinda wished at least one of them was close to dying. Which is probably the most horrid thing I have ever thought. Lucky bastards, Amber mumbles under her breath, obviously having shared my awful hope. Rue skulls. They're more than set with supplies, of course they're fine. That's very true. Their hold on the cornucopia has decided the game's in the Koreas' favor more than once already, with other tributes starving and remaining unarmed while the Koreas enjoy perfect health and know no hunger nor want for anything else. Once Clove is done with Kato's burns, the whole pack moves out, albeit slower than usual. I assume they are craving for some poor, unfortunate tribute to take their frustrations out on. Or maybe they just want to convince the audience that they are as entertaining as ever, discouraging another game maker attempt on their lives. Whatever the reason, it leaves their supplies wide open for Amber to go in and steal some more. Both Rue and I offer to come along, but our ally assures us that she'll be faster and safer if she goes alone. She returns to us with a bit of food, a length of rope and some antiseptic gauze. She could not go for any other medical supplies, of course, as the courier pack would surely notice if something important to them went missing. We return to camp, feeling useless. Even though it was unlikely to begin with, I think we all had hoped for a sudden epiphany as to what our next move should be. But no such miraculous burst of clarity occurred, so we are stuck foraging for berries and roots on our way back to camp. We check the snares I set before the fire yesterday, rewarded only with one unfortunate rabbit, so small it will barely make a decent meal for one, let alone three. Then, as I set the snare anew, I suddenly have something akin to that epiphany I was hoping for. What are you doing? Rue asks, realizing something is different. They're not like you usually make them. I give her my best attempt at a haughty smile as I relpy. They ought to be different. They are for people, not game. Both my allies look surprised, bordering on shocked. Amber recovers first, her version of a superior smirk far better than mine and eerily close to Clove's. Nice one, Prim. Can't see Kato's sword being much use when he's dangling from a tree by his ankle. That's the general idea, I reply, hoping neither my tone nor facial expression betray that even setting this trap makes me feel sick to my stomach. This is more than just self-defense. This is preparing to kill. This is a first step towards murder. Once back at camp, we prepare ourselves a meal with the food stolen from the Koreas. You know, Rue says, deep in thought, staring at the slowly simmering pot the way I see it, the Koreas wouldn't get by half as well without their supplies. True, I agree. But not like there's anything we can do about it. Isn't there? Rue replies, looking up and smiling, a mischievous glint in her eyes. Isn't there, Prim? You don't mean, I start, only to be cut off by Amber letting out a laugh. Rue's right. There is. Her face lights up with delight at the realization that we can even the playing field somewhat. Let's blow their advantage sky high, shall we, girls? The rest of the day is spent with planning just how to go about this, luring away the Koreas, causing an explosion without bringing harm to ourselves, getting away before the Korea pack returns. Only once we have come to a satisfying plan and talked it through in excruciatingly detailed fashion do we settle down for the night, the empty sky above showing that while they are up and about, the Koreas are not up to their usual standards, with another day having passed by deathless. We get up when there's barely any light yet. We move through the arena like animals, fast and quiet, Amber in the lead with my night vision glasses on. We have quite a long walk ahead of us. Firstly, we have to make it far enough from our cave not to lead anyone there with the distraction we are planning. Secondly, we have to get a long way away from the cornucopia if we want the Koreas gone for long enough to actually be able to go through with our plan. Once we reach a point that Amber deems suitable, we set up a giant bonfire, but we don't light it yet. This is only one of three. It has to be stacked in odd ways, so that the damp layer of wood which will cause enough smoke to be easily spotted from all over the arena will only catch fire after a while, so you have time to get away from the thing, in case some tribute is near us by a stroke of bad luck. Amber calls it a form of engineering, Rue and I call it pretty damn brilliant. District 5 apparently learns all sorts of stuff that we have never even heard of. Rue stays with this first construction while Amber and I keep moving through the still almost completely dark forest. It isn't ideal that we have to split up, but it isn't something we can avoid. After a while, Amber picks the second spot, and we set up another bonfire. This time, I am left with it and Amber goes on by herself. Now I can do nothing but wait around until the next step in our plan starts. Amber will build the third, final bonfire. Then she'll signal through the Mockingjays, so I know it's time. I'm on duty at the second bonfire because Amber needs to reach the Careers' camp first and my ankle is in a worse condition than Rue's calf, so by stationing us this way, we'll get to the cornucopia at around the same time, hopefully. I'm starting to get rather fidgety, sure something must have gone wrong, when I finally hear our 4-note tune echoing through the trees. So Amber has her bonfire ready and lit. I can't see any signs of smoke yet, what with her construction being laid the way it is, but it won't be much longer, I'm sure. I count under my breath, dead focused. I can't mess up, even a slip-up of a few seconds can mean disaster. At 200, I kneel down and set the first layer of my bonfire alight. I turn into the direction I know Rue is waiting in, whistle our signal until it is carried towards her by the Mockingjays and take to the trees, making my way towards Amber and the cornucopia. I can now clearly see the smoke of the first act of our diversion and surely, the Careers must have spotted it too. I take a route that doesn't cross past the bonfire, we all agreed to play it safe. Well, as safe as a plan to cause a giant explosion can get. Once I reach the clearing, I clamber down the tree and rush to our designated meeting point. Amber isn't here and for a moment I panic, but then she steps through the undergrowth with an armful of supplies, grinning. They're panting for blood, didn't think twice about rushing off. This is the fourth load I stole. Think it's all we need, so we can destroy the rest. I take some of the stuff from her and help move it into the hideout Rue knew about from her spying on the first day. We know the explosion won't leave us completely uninjured, we're not idiots. So we had to find some sort of shelter for the night, because there's no way we'll make it back to camp. It's a hole in the ground more than a cave, really, kind of like a badger's burrow, but it'll have to do. We crawl in and I look over what Amber got from the supply pile. Enough food to keep us fed comfortably for at least a week, even if we have 3 meals every day, which we all aren't really used to, not even me, no matter how hard Katniss tries. A few more bottles of iodine. An amazing first aid kit, burn ointment, gauze, even fever pills. Wire and rope for snares. 3 bigger backpacks for us to carry everything. An additional sleeping bag. Even new trousers for Rue's ripped and burned ones, as well as 3 perfect jackets. And weapons. Knives and daggers, mainly, as we all aren't good with bigger stuff. But there's a scythe, too, and I give Amber a questioning look. She shrugs, looking sheepish and somewhat embarrassed. It looked cool. I got excited. Sue me. Once we're done with the inventory, we move out of our makeshift home for a day. Rue must be here any second now. She's right on time, too, waving at us from a tree and then joining us on the ground. All 3 of us stuff our ears with little balls of gauze and tree gum. An explosion is loud, really loud, bad enough to damage your ears, and this is all we can do in hopes of getting away with our hearing unscathed. Rue pulls out her slingshot as Amber hands me a weird contraption she fashioned. A bit of rope with fist-sized stones attached to either side. We both have 2 each, in case we miss one shot, but that's it. They are apparently easier to aim and throw, something to do with physics. I have to take her word on this, because while physics is taught in 12 technically, there isn't much focus on it and even the teachers seem mildly confused by it. Doesn't relate to Cole, so I suppose we don't need to know. I tap my finger against my teeth to remind my allies of what I told them yesterday: jaw unclenched or the blast might knock your teeth out, and then we all are off to our separate stations. Amber picked the spots that she figures are most likely to cause a chain reaction. As we walk away, we all count and I hope we are in sync. Timing is everything. I check to see that both of my allies are in their assigned locations as my internal countdown hits 10. I ready my rope stone throwing thingy. I really should have asked Amber what they're called. 3, 2, 1. I release my projectile and I know Rue and Amber must, too. I watch it fly for what seems like hours and hours. Time loses all meaning. And then I'm knocked off my feet, flying backward through the air. I crash to the ground, all the air knocked out of my lungs. Even with the makeshift earplugs, my ears are ringing like crazy. I must have bitten down on my lip accidentally, as it's throbbing with pain and the by now disturbingly familiar taste of blood fills my mouth. I'm dazed and disoriented but manage to push myself onto my hands and knees and look at the courier's supplies. Well, what used to be their supplies? It is now a smoldering pile of nothing. Completely useless. I almost choke on my own laugh, it comes out as half a croak. We did it. We actually did it. The couriers will be so mad. I smile at the thought until I realize that they also will be coming. Soon. And I'm out in the open. I crawl away as fast as I can, towards our camp for the night. I am still far from reaching it when I see an arm poke from the underbush, gesturing for me to come to them. Rue. I join her in her hiding spot, which allows us to see the cornucopia clearing without being seen ourselves. We also intercept Amber and she joins us. Just in time. The couriers come thundering back. Kato reaches the clearing first, and to say that he is angry would be an understatement. He's screaming and raging like a madman, kicking at debris that has flown all over their camp, shoving Marvel to the ground as the other boy tries to calm him. My heart rate picks up and I can feel Rue shaking next to me. This fury is directed at us, and if, by some bad joke of fate, he should come into our direction, our deaths will be slow and gruesome. The boy from 3 is chucking rocks towards what used to be the supply pile, obviously checking to make sure all mines went off. They haven't, apparently. The blast of one last mine knocks the couriers off their feet. The force isn't anywhere near what it was when we set off multiple mines, though, and they scramble up again almost instantly. Felicia is clutching her arm, which seems twisted to an unnatural angle. Marvel is fretting over Glimmer, who waves him off, pulling a shard that embedded itself in her leg out almost carelessly before gesturing to her district partner's own wounds. He looks down, seemingly surprised at the piece of metal sticking out of his chest. It won't kill him, that much I can tell even from here, but it'll hurt unbelievably bad once his adrenaline rush wears off. Clove is somewhat unsteady on her feet, pressing her hand to her forehead and pulling it away again, staring at her blood-covered fingers in astonishment. Kato and the boy from 3 seem relatively unharmed. Before the smaller tribute can react, Kato has already snapped his neck, his scream of fury ringing through the arena. Then the couriers turn to arguing. The girl from 4 and Kato agree for once, saying only Peter knew about the mines. Only that idiot from 12 would be reckless enough to mess with them. Clove says someone must have tried to steal and blown themselves up. Marvel backs her up, saying there's no reason to go searching for someone who's probably dead. At least wait for the anthem, he argues. They have to patch themselves up first somehow. That girl from 5 Glimmer says, only earning doubtful, even condescending looks from her allies. She had that look about her. Sly little witch. And she has those 2 twerps to do her bidding. We stiffen in fear in our hiding spot, but they only laugh her off. 3 tiny outer district kids could have never pulled that off. I'd grin to myself if I weren't so terrified. The couriers move away to allow a hovercraft to collect the body of the boy from 3 before returning to the middle of the clearing and inventorying their backpacks. They didn't have a lot of things on them, relying on their supplies as we'd figured. They get water from the lake and use what they have to clean their wounds as best as they can. Glimmer sets Felicia's arm, the other girl spitting out a string of cusses. She must be in pain. Well, they all must be. Kato has calmed considerably, focusing on them all getting patched up like his other allies. He almost tenderly reaches for Clove, wiping her blood off of her face for her carefully. Just as she leans into his touch, a parachute drops among the couriers. I exchange a quick look with my allies. The timing of that sponsor gift was surely not a coincidence. The capital citizens must be eating up all those, for lack of a better word, sweet moments between the murderers from 2. They almost freaked at the thought of Peter and Katniss, and now they have these 2 in the arena together. How positively tragic. But no matter. Gifts'll hold them over longer than we'd like, but half the tributes are gone and parachutes only get more and expensive as the games continue. 5 careers eat more than gifts can provide, especially with them also needing medical attention. With the careers so immersed, we start crawling further towards our hideout. After a while, we feel safe enough to get up and continue on foot. I'm still somewhat dizzy, and so are Amber and Rue, but we make good time. We make the mistake of feeling safe, because suddenly, a voice makes us all jump in fear and surprise. That was you, then. I let out an extremely undignified squeal, jumping in surprise. My ears must either be in worse condition than I had previously figured, or Thresh possesses Gale's unnerving ability to move as silently as a shadow. Katniss does it, too, but it's a lot more startling when someone who towers well over a foot over you just appears out of nowhere. And unlike with Gale, I don't have the added peace of mind of knowing that Thresh won't hurt me. Just because he refused to join the careers doesn't mean he won't kill. Almost everyone does in the games. Amber's between Rue and me and Thresh in an instant, knife in hand, a